Chapter 970. This smile was like fireworks blooming in the sky, ethereal and gorgeous. In an instant, it filled her eyes and even her entire heart. Big Ice Cube, you're not allowed to smile in front of anyone other than me in the future. She came back to her senses and blamed herself for not being able to live up to expectations. After being together for so many years, she still wasn't used to it and was still enchanted by him. However, she was even more vigilant. Even if she was by his side day and night, she couldn't escape his charm, so there was no need to mention anyone else. So, she deliberately put on a fierce look. Xiao Su expressed that he didn't care and was very willing to go along with her. He really couldn't think of anyone else that was worth him caring about other than the little fellow. If these words fell into the ears of other men, they would have a falling out with her. Chu Qingyan was very satisfied with the Big Ice Cube's response. Actually, the Big Ice Cube had a mask on his face. If he didn't speak or smile, just by standing there, it was enough to enchant a large group of people. Of course, beauty was in the eye of the beholder. She wanted to hide him, but she also didn't want others to see his magnificence. Chapter 972. It really was a contradiction. Chu Qingyan's gaze. Let's go for a walk. Wu Ling was still not used to talking about love in front of everyone. Chu Qingyan didn't know what to say for a moment. The little fellow's identity at this time was still Cheng Yinluo's urgent voice sounded again. Chu Qingyan's style was too fast and could only turn to leave, and she couldn't understand. But before she left, was the Big Ice Cube seemed to have heard inviting her on a date. His heart was thumping wildly. Senior brother. Her face was red. Chu Qingyan couldn't help but close her eyes at the distant. It's good to go for a walk. In the end, Xiao Su did not no choice but to leave as he followed behind her with a smile. If some people were destined to be together, who was feeding no matter how many wrong paths saw the two of them, there would always be a day when he couldn't help asking Wu Ling who was beside him. However, if two people were not fated to be together, I found that His Highness treats him, then there was no use in forcing. I've never seen His Highness this gentle who wasn't suffering bitterly. Wu Ling followed his gaze. It was just a matter of who could endure. He silently cursed in his Southern Blue Barracks. You didn't see his was lying on the bed, injured. He was in front of him was a subordinate with the little princess. Your Highness, as he couldn't say these words in front of Xishuan's army is currently attacking the city. If it reached his master's ears, Pang Huang he might be sent to the mountains. Then young Master Chu is young. The injury this time had caused him to suffer a lot. Master is a person who cherishes and his entire person. That's why she treats him differently. Xishuan's army has 300,000 men. Wu Ling patted his shoulder 50,000 are attacking the city. Then he was afraid that he would ask something he couldn't answer. 40,000. So he immediately the commander replied. Pang Huang nodded. He admired her from the bottom of his heart. Knew. When he was her age, Xishuan's army has several 100,000 men. After he sent only 50,000, his eyes moved back to where they were. Could it be that Xiao Su he felt that the two of them standing together were very will they be disadvantageous to us? But when he thought of their identities, he couldn't help raised his doubts. His Highness wasn't a homosexual. When the army was under Xiao, those people are not in my eyes at all, and led the horse to another place. Tell me where Xiao Su is running faster. This is the influence of the leader of Qingqiao City. I think that if we can get rid of Xiao Su and Chu Qingyan had already walked far curled his lips, will be like an fish shopping desolate place. That's good. Waiting to be this crown prince was everyone nodded. The sky feeling that the two with his style. At this time, someone suggests like a place to then what does your Highness plan to do? As long as you are willing, Xishuan soldiers have already arrived. The blue sky, at the very least, I'm afraid that General Feng and General Haisu would stand. We don't have to pay too much attention. You don't have to suddenly turn to look. This crown prince only one Qingyan was still playing his Feng in her hand. It will be of hearing help to boost the morale. They must fight to the death. A general let Xishuan. He felt that the crown prince was paying time comes. This crown prince will personally go. But when she raised her head, of course, eyes were Pang Huang's long smile. Nothing. He sneered. I wasn't discernible. What's so scary about Xishuan? As soon as she finished speaking, your body, the person in front of her suddenly leaned forward into a corner. It's fine, but Xiao Su, thanks to the military doctor, she couldn't help alone. I'm mostly better now. She couldn't take it anymore. Don't spread the news. He reached out ever since he took over the three. He sighed helplessly. Haven't we helped her stabilize her? Pang Huang. You think I don't know? Chung stood up to support immediately. The two of them were very close. At this time, the soldiers, as long as she raised her head, Pang Huang swept his gaze, but she was feeling guilty right now. Finally narrowed his eyes. Only dared to touch. What's the meaning of this? How could I? Reiluo stood up with an embarrassed expression. At this moment, Your Highness, Xiao Su's hand landed on the top of her head. The news of your injury suddenly became gentle. The soldiers, do you miss your trash? Don't you know what it means to pacify the army? And she immediately looked up. Could it be that when this crown prince wasn't here, Xiao Su smiled gently. You didn't have a single person. That's why I said, don't lie to me. Pang Huang was so angry that his blood rushed
Chu
to his head.
Qingyan pursed her
His face
lips,
turned even
but
paler,
she was still very
he couldn't
impressed.
stop coughing.
He was as meticulous
Everyone was
as
shocked
dust
and immediately
could see
called
the
for
big
a military
picture
doctor,
from small details.
But Pang Huang
That was why
stopped
such a
him.
person
He took
could
a
become
deep
the
breath
leader of the
and then
Sichuan
said to
army
everyone,
and lead the
sooner
army
or later
to expel
this
those
crown
brutal
prince will be
invaders.
angered to death.
She
by
no
you
longer
all."
denied it.
The soldiers
and leaned
lowered their
against his
heads
chest
and didn't
her
dare
voice
to say
soft.
anything.
A little.
If they spoke at this
Recently,
time,
they
she
would
had been
simply
so
be
busy
offending
with the
Crown
war
Prince.
that she didn't even
Pang
know if
Huang
her parents
couldn't
were
count
doing
on
well
them
and
and
Jiangnan,
ordered,
whether they were
passed down
eating
the
well
order,
and wearing
have the
warm
three
clothes.
armies gathered.
Actually, she
this
didn't have
crown
to worry
prince
about
wants
these
to
things
train
at
them,
all because she had
Reyluo
arranged
wanted
for
to
people
remind
stay
him about his
behind.
body.
Big
But in
Ice
the
Cube
end,
also
under his
had people
majesty,
there.
he kept
and Xiao
quiet.
would take care of them.
Pang Huang,
so her
didn't want
parents
to see
would
these
definitely be
people
doing well
and wave his
It
hand.
was just that when
to
his son was
dismiss them.
thousands of miles
out of sight,
away,
out of mind,
his mother would
but
be
in the
worried.
end, he
When
still
her parents
kept
weren't by their
Reyluo
side
and
as
Qingcheng.
children,
The room was
they would
silent,
also be
and
worried.
the atmosphere
It
was
was
heavy.
only natural.
Reyluo,
However,
and Qingcheng
she didn't
looked
want
at
to
each
show
other.
these emotions.
No
on
one
her
dared
face
to take
for
the
fear
initiative
of
increasing
increasing big.
They
Ice
quietly
Cube's
lowered
burden.
their heads.
He was already
and waited
very
for the
busy,
crown prince,
so
in
she
front
didn't
of
want
them
to add
speak.
to his troubles.
Pang Huang,
However, he
said
still found
faintly.
out. Does
She
the
was a little
imperial
defeated.
court also know
If this
about
war
this
goes
crown
well,
prince's injury?
we will be back soon. Xiao knew
Since
what was
the
on her
three
mind
armies
and
didn't
said
fight,
firmly.
the
Chu
imperial
Qingyan
court
nodded
should
when
have
she heard
also
this.
received the news.
She knew that Big Ice
Reyluo
Cube
said
would
with an
Big
unnatural
Ice
expression,
Cube. Did you miss
Majesty
home when you were on the
knows.
battlefield in the
Pang
past?
Huang sneered.
Perhaps the
Then how did he
atmosphere was
react?
too relaxed.
Reyluo
so she
glanced at
spoke
him
without
and
thinking.
stammered.
His
Big Ice
Majesty's
Cube's
parents
very
had always
concerned
been a
about
topic
you.
he wanted you to
carefully
take good care of
avoided,
your body.
afraid that
Is
she
that
would
so?
mention Big
There's no
Ice
need
Cube's
for
sad
such
memories.
official words.
Now that she
Just
had
tell me the
said it,
truth.
she was a
Pang
little
Huang's
regretful
gaze was
and
impressive,
couldn't help
so
but
Reyluo
secretly
could
look at
only
his
tell the
expression.
truth.
However,
His Majesty,
the person in
didn't
front of
do
her looked the
anything on the
same
surface
as before.
but I heard that he sent a lot of things to the second prince. She heaved a sigh of relief. Rumor has
thinking
it
that
that
he
His
didn't hear her.
Majesty might
She was about to
release
change the
second
topic when
prince.
she heard him say
As soon as
in a low
Reyluo said
voice,
this, when I first
Pang
left the
Huang's
imperial
eyes
palace,
became
I would
ferocious.
often miss
This
it.
crown prince
Chu
just got in
Qingyan was
trouble,
stunned,
and he's
She didn't
afraid
think
that he won't
Big
have a
Ice
successor.
Cube would mention it to
He
her.
immediately got close
Moreover,
to second
he
brother.
used the word miss.
He's really my good
Her
father.
heart fluctuated.
We finally
but her
suppressed
expression
the
was
second
still calm.
prince's power
She said in a
with great
gentle
difficulty.
voice,
And
if he
then
regains power again,
Xiao raised
we'll
his
be
head
far away
and looked at the
Sichuan.
distant sky.
This,
His gaze
Reyluo
was a little
said
unfocused.
wordless. There was a
as
wolf
if he was
in
immersed
front
in some
and a tiger
past
behind.
memories.
The
I wrote a
situation
letter to
wasn't
Imperial
good.
Mother.
Your Highness,
She told me that I
let's
had to
go
be
all out
outstanding
this
to be
Let's do it early.
qualified to be the crown prince.
Qingcheng interrupted.
I also wrote a
time.
letter to
Pang
Imperial
Huang
Father.
glanced at him.
He was very busy
and a trace of
and
ruthlessness
didn't have time to
appeared in
reply.
his eyes.
This voice
Okay,
sounded a little
we'll do as you
lonely
say.
in this quiet
Activate
night.
the spies
Chu Qingyan's
and let
heart
my
tightened.
second brother
She
finish
knew it would
his
be like
last
this.
journey.
After that,
Yes, I didn't write
the
a letter
two
back.
of them understood
Because without
tacitly.
expectations,
Only then did
there would be
Pang
no
Huang
disappointment.
close his eyes.
There was a
and
faint
circulate his
self-mockery
chi.
in his voice.
However,
his
like a
mood swings
flame
were too
that was
severe.
finally
As soon as he
extinguished in
circulated his
vast
chi,
darkness.
he spat out a mouthful of blood.
Chapter
This
9,
frightened
71,
Reyluo and
Chu
Qingyan
Qingyan
reached out
and they
grabbed his
immediately
hand.
stepped forward.
She wanted to say something,
Your Highness,
but
how
he
are you?
gently pressed
Should we
his
call
finger
for a military
against her
doctor
lips.
for you?
His
After
eyes
spitting
were
out this
downcast,
mouthful of
and there was a
congested blood,
boundless darkness
Pang
in his
Huang
eyes that
felt
could not
much
be
more
seen
refreshed.
clearly. He raised his
After
eyes
that,
and said
I didn't need to miss
coldly,
anymore.
I know my
because
own
I
body
already
best.
had enough ability
You should
to
go
protect
and
myself.
prepare how to deal with
This
the
was like a
enemy.
child walking
Yes.
in the dark.
After the room
screaming
returned
in
to
fear,
silence,
but no one
Pang
appeared.
Huang sneered.
In the end,
This time,
he closed his eyes
I'll let them
and
taste the pain
hypnotized
of
himself.
defeat. It's okay. This way, I can't see the darkness.
Chapter 9,
Chu Qingyan's eyes
outside
reflected his
Qing
indifferent,
Xiao City.
smiling eyes.
Xiao Su sat on
Suddenly,
the back of his horse.
her heart
watching
ached,
the battle
and
from
her
afar.
mouth tasted
Your
bitter.
Highness,
Big
this
Ice
city
Cube.
is a
It's
bit
okay. My
difficult
parents
to
can share
conquer.
half with you.
The enemy has the
Xiao
geographical
Su knew what she was
advantage
thinking and reached
is
out
giving
to
us
hold her
a
shoulder.
lot of trouble.
In fact, he
Gao
said
Hao
this
looked at
tonight
the direction
only because
of
the
the
little
billowing
fellow had been
smoke,
silent
his
about
voice
this topic
anxious.
for so many years.
Can't we attack with
He thought it was a
fire?
taboo for
Jing
him,
Guanghui
so he didn't
suggested.
dare to touch on this
At this
topic.
moment,
In
Huo
fact,
Ling
it wasn't.
shook his head.
Today, there are
He
many
just wanted to
captives
take this
in
opportunity
Qingchao City
to let her know
if we
that
attack
she
with
didn't
fire,
need to carefully
the ones
ones who will be hurt
of his feelings.
Will definitely be our people.
But it seemed that he overreached himself.
Guanhui scratched his head,
so many
realizing
years
that he had
passed.
misspoken.
This is just a small
Xiao waited for everyone
memory.
to finish their discussion.
He patted the sentimental
little
little
fellow in his arms. His
and
voice
looked at
wasn't
the distant
loud,
mountains.
but it clearly reached
Some of the things in his
everyone's
memory that had
ears.
already turned
This would be a
yellow
long
and
battle.
gray.
Let's see who can
suddenly
last
flashed
until
in
the
front
end.
of him.
Perhaps
Everyone
at that
nodded.
time,
He
because
was
the
angry,
Southern Blue Army's
unwilling,
provisions had been
wronged,
burned,
helpless,
they couldn't be
and
replenished.
sad.
But
It was
now
only
that
a
he
matter
thought
of
about
time
it,
before
it
the
couldn't
Southern
shake his
Blue Army
emotions
was
in the
defeated.
slightest. As long as
Things
they
have
cut off their
changed
escape
with the passage of
they would be
time.
defeated.
It was
in
no
the
longer
end.
important.
A day passed.
He had already found
and the
someone
army
worthy of
retreated at
cherishing.
night.
Those
Chu Qingyan was still
sufferings were
waiting
nothing.
for Xiao.
People should live in the
tent,
present.
Chu
and cherish
Qingyan
the
wrung out a
present.
towel
If they were
and
tied
handed it
down
to
by
him.
the past,
Is Qing
they would
Xiao City
never know
really that
what
difficult
happiness
to
was.
take down?
If you miss your parents, you can write a letter
and let someone.
So she waited for him to return. He pulled himself out of the memory and said with a faint smile. Xiao took the towel and wiped his face lit up. She raised her head in his arms. Is more sturdy than Jiangning County. Xiao
in addition, there are many people inside.
Then curve his lips.
If you want to take it down,
we will need
his
some
answer.
time.
Chu Qingyan
smiled
happily.
listened to his words.
Father loves you so much.
It seemed that he still had some
reservations.
He will be very happy to see you.
She couldn't help but move
too
closer to him.
Xiao
and look at him
hugged her
carefully.
with both hands.
Then she asked.
His mood was tinged
you
with light
already have a
joy.
plan, but you
Happiness
don't want to say it.
was actually very
When
simple.
Xiao heard this,
it was to cherish
couldn't
the
help
right
but
person.
scratch her nose.
At this moment,
you
in a
mischievous
courtyard
spirit,
far away in
after
Jiangnan,
hearing this praise,
there were also
she
people
knew that she had
gazing
guessed
at
correctly
the moon with longing.
because Pang
Daniel
Huang was
what do you
not
think
personally
Kai
overseeing
inverted
the
scallion
situation
are doing
and their
now.
men were enough
Mr.
to
Chu
crush
rested
their
his
men.
chin on his
In
hands
addition,
and
her
looked up
family's
at the
ice
full
cube
moon
was so
as he
smart.
muttered to himself.
It should not take too long
At this
to take
moment,
them down.
Chu
Then why don't
Machen's
you
mother
go?
was picking
Chu
cloth
Qingyan
and preparing
didn't
to make a
understand.
few sets of
Shouldn't it be
clothes
a
for her
quick
daughter.
battle?
When
She
she
heard
Yuan
this,
needs generals
she glanced
and
at her
soldiers
husband
who
to
carry the
helplessly.
flag. My time has passed.
Yuan Zhen.
Heroes
This
will
concubine
emerge
has heard
from
this
every
every
generation.
more than 20
I should give them
times
more
since this
opportunities to
This
hone
concubine's
themselves.
ears are
Xiao
about
Su
to
said,
grow calluses,
raising his eyebrows.
Mr. Chu
In
sighed.
truth, there were
Dan
still
Yang,
some things that he did
you
not
don't
say.
understand how I feel.
If Jean Xian
I miss them very
wanted
much.
to gain a foothold
Mrs.
in the
Chu
imperial court
paused
in the future,
and comforted her.
he had to make
They're
contributions.
fighting a war now.
Thus,
They will
he
come
wanted to
back
create an
when the war
opportunity
is over
for him.
him.
Whether or
Mr.
not
Chu
he could
snorted.
seize it depended on
That's your
himself.
answer every
Chu
time.
Qingyan
I've heard you say the
listened to
same
his
thing
words
more
and
than
felt that they
20
were very
times
reasonable.
since this morning.
She supported her
ears are
chin
getting
with one
calluses.
hand as she
A few
sat on
crows
the chair
flew
and
over
looked
Mrs.
at him.
Chu's head.
With a determined
Wah, wah, wah.
expression, she
Then,
said, Chu
"That's
Machen's
right.
father continued to ramble.
If
I
Sichuan
miss
has a
them
few
so
more
much.
brave
Will they miss me?
warriors,
If
won't it be
anything
unfair
happens
if
in
I
the
miss
future,
them more than they
they
miss
won't
me?
only think about
But there's
it.
nothing I can do
We can
about
also
it.
be
I
happy
just miss
and
them.
idle.
Dan
Xiao
Yang,
Su
will
smiled.
they come back?
This was the difference
I'm so
between
lonely
Xiao
by myself.
Su and Pang
You can
Huang.
play with Xiao Hua.
Pang Huang liked
Xiao
to have
Bai,
everything
and
in
Xiao
his
Huang.
hands.
Didn't
As a
Xiao
result,
Hua give
if
birth
something
to a
happened
few
to him,
cubs yesterday?
the army would be
Mrs. Chu
leaderless
tried to
and without a
divert his
backbone.
attention.
However,
Yes,
Xiao Su
peanuts
implemented a
and
policy
little
of
flowers
letting
are
them
here,
do as
we
they
can play
pleased.
again.
Within
Mr.
his
Chu
control,
was
he
immediately
allowed them to
attracted.
do as they
He
pleased.
stood up and circled
If
the
they
stone
really
table
couldn't
a few
handle
times.
him, he could still
Mrs.
control
Chu
the
heaved a
situation
sigh
from
of
behind
relief
and not
and
cause
continued
too
to
much
pick the
damage.
colors.
This was
However,
also why any
after
soldier
jumping
who
around
was
for a
trained
while,
by Xiao
Mr. Chu
Su
sat
could
down
hold up
worriedly
half the sky
and continued to look up at the
Unfortunately,
moon with a frown.
Sichuan Emperor was
But I still miss
wary
them
of
very
this.
much.
He relied
Mrs.
on Xiao
Chu
Su's
rubbed her
ability,
brows,
but also
it seemed that her
feared his
husband would
ability.
only
As
stop
the
when
war
they came
reached its
back.
climax.
War is
Xiao
scary
Su
and
was
tiring.
already consciously
I wonder if they
training
took good care of
generals for
themselves.
Xiao. He couldn't
Mr.
predict
Chu
what
started
would
to
happen
ramble
in the future,
again, like
but as
Tang
long as he
Song.
was on the throne,
Sometimes
he would continue
missing
to work.
someone wasn't an illness.
At this moment,
It was a
someone
kind of
came to
happiness
report
to
from
have someone miss
outside.
them.
Xiao
The next
Su
morning,
said indifferently,
Fong Lu
let them
and
in.
the others led the
Jean
army
Xian
toward Qingchao
Fong
City.
Lu.
Xiao
And
Su
Xing Chang
lifted the
behind
curtain
with a few
and walked in.
generals. When
Their
Xiao
purpose
Su
was
saw
to
the three
observe
of
the
them,
situation
he raised his
and make
eyebrows
preparations
and asked,
for tactical
"What's the matter?"
deployment.
Fong Lu
personnel
looked at the
changes.
two beside
Chu
him.
Qingyan
Then
watched
took the initiative
as
to
the soldiers
speak
and
as the
horses
representative.
slowly
Your
disappeared
Highness,
from her
the
sight.
few of us
Then,
have just discussed
she
the
turned to
plan
look at
to
Kong
attack
Ling.
the city.
Don't you need to
Let's hear
accompany
it.
the army
Xiao
today?
Su was interested.
She was puzzled.
Chu Qingyan,
Usually,
wherever
who
there
was
was
standing
big
at the side
ice cube,
immediately
there would
stood
be
up straight
ethereal
and looked at
It was a
them
little strange
expectantly.
today.
It's
Ethereal
like this.
hesitated for a moment
Today,
before
when we
confessing.
attacked,
We
Master
found that the
said
enemy
that he
was
doesn't need
stubbornly
me today.
resisting.
They have
They
other
should be
military
waiting for
doctors with them.
reinforcements to
Chu
arrive.
Qingyan frowned.
If we announced
Ethereal
that Pang
never
Huang
left his
is
side.
injured,
Why would
and the
Big
Southern
Ice
Song
Cube
Army
suddenly
is
give
injured,
such an order?
we can gradually
Suddenly,
break down.
she
the
remembered that she had
resistance.
mentioned to
Then
Big Ice Cube
we tell them that their
Yin Luo
provisions have been
would be
taken away.
leaving in 2 days.
They will panic even
Could
more
be that
and
Big
lose
Ice
their will to
Cube
fight.
wanted
Fong
Ethereal
Lu
to
slowly
stay
explained
or
their
give
plan.
us some time together.
Xing
That was
Chang
something
added,
that Big
this
Ice
general
Cube
has fought
would
with
do.
Fu Yu before.
Did you know that Yin
He's a
Luo
cowardly
will leave
and timid
when
person.
Qingchao
Once he
City
knows that there are
is
no
conquered,
reinforcements
Chu
or
Qingyan
rations,
followed
if
him
we insist on
slowly toward the
persuading
camp.
him to surrender
She
for
pretended
another
to
2
mention
days,
it casually.
he might just
but
abandon
her
the
eyes were
city
closely
and
watching
surrender.
for changes in his
That
expression.
person called Feng
As
Shen
expected,
will be difficult
Chu
to deal
Qingyan
with.
saw a flash
other than his
struggle in
desire
eyes
for
when he
grandiose
heard this.
achievements.
But he quickly
His ability
calmed
to
down.
lead troops is still
She
desirable.
couldn't help but purse her
However,
lips.
we have
I
also
know,
heard that
it was
this
a calm
person has
word,
had quite a
and there
bit
was
of
nothing
friction
else
with
to
Fu
say
Yu.
during the
Chu
past few
Qingyan
days.
stopped in her tracks.
This is something that we can
and
make
took
a
a
deep
deep
breath.
She
Jean
felt as if a
Xian
torch was
expressed his
burning
opinion
fiercely
after the
in
two
her
of them
chest.
finished speaking.
Kongling, Chu Qingyan,
Even if you don't want to
listened
continue your
attentively.
relationship
The
with
more
her,
she listened,
you don't have to
the
be
more
so
she admired
resolute.
the people beside
She's your
her.
junior sister.
He was
after
right.
all.
How
If
can
they
you
were
send
given
me
a
away
certain
so
amount of
calmly?
space and opportunity,
Aren't you worried
these
that a
people
girl
would grow
like her might
very
encounter some
quickly
danger today
when she goes out
she had
alone?
seen it for herself.
Ethereal looked at her with a smile.
After the three
I
of
know
them
that with your
finished
friendship
speaking,
with my junior
Xiao Su
sister,
looked at them with
you'll definitely
admiration.
arrange
Very good.
everything for her.
You guys can do
I don't
as
have
you
to
wish.
worry. After the three of them received affirmation really wanted to tear young insincere smile. Their faces were filled with uncontrollable joy. Just as she was about to say something, and they immediately heard a familiar voice behind her. Chu Qingyan felt I've been looking for you for a long time. Like a gust of the medicine I brewed for you today, and she could not help but be filled with emotions. Chu Qingyan turned around. Do you know what strategy they're using? Luo, at this moment, not far away. Big Ice Cube's question she was surprised. Suddenly rang out. How long had she been standing there? Chu Qingyan was stunned for How much had she heard? Then was carefully recalled what the three of them said. She seemed to have realized something lit up and turned to look at This is the so-called closing the door. He had seen Yin Luo a long time ago. Xiao Su smiled and nodded. He had deliberately said those words. Chu Qingyan was encouraged and immediately said, I once read a book. It said that when a thief is being chased, if the thief has a chance to escape, he will fight to the death. If he blocks the thief's escape route, he will be captured. It means that if the thief finds out that he has a chance to escape, he will fight to the death. If he blocks his escape route, the thief will definitely be captured. So, Jin Xian and the rest want to cut off the escape route of the people in the city. Once people see no hope, they will be very passive, and this will be beneficial to our attack. When the time comes, they will only have the option of surrendering. Xiao Su reached out and stroked her long hair, a faint smile appearing on his face. You are a promising child. It's master who taught me well. Chu Qingyan pretended to be obedient. Xiao Su shook his head and chuckled. Then he said, Jin Xian is a good seedling, and his future is limitless. You don't have to worry too much. I will be by his side to protect him. As expected of Big Ice Cube, he knew what she was worried about. Chu Qingyan smiled and nodded heavily. With Big Ice Cube's words, she was relieved. Chapter 974. The method of Jin Xian and the others worked very quickly. In a short span of 2 to 3 days, the Southern Blue Army could not hold on any longer. Furthermore, due to the internal strife between Fu Yu and Feng Chun, both sides began to feel powerless. In the end, Fu Yu eliminated Feng Chun and chose to surrender. The siege of Qingqiao City was finally successful. When Chu Qingyan heard this news, she was so happy that she couldn't contain her joy. At this time, she also received the order to break camp and head for Qingqiao City. Chu Qingyan immediately ordered everyone to pack up and head for Qingqiao City. Your Highness, everything is under your control. In a hidden place, Qing Cheng stood in front of Pang Huang with a ruthless expression. Pang Huang curled his lips into a smile. Well done. Send someone to receive Fu Yu later. This crown prince still has things to settle with Xiao Su. Yes, Your Highness, please be careful. Qing Cheng immediately left with his men. Pang Huang looked at the slowly approaching troops and smiled ruthlessly. Xiao Su. Oh, Xiao Su. This crown prince can't wait to see your panicked face. Later, you will have a taste of what it means to fall from the clouds into a quagmire. With that, he disappeared with his men in a flash. Chu Qingyan quickly rejoined the army with her men. Xiao Su glanced at the people behind her and nodded. We will enter the city in a quarter of an hour. Chu Qingyan expressed her understanding and then ordered people to help tidy up the battlefield in front of the city. At this time, the number of people was being counted. Cheng Yin Luo dismounted and walked to the side. The sun was a little strong today, making people dizzy from the heat. She took the water bag and took a sip to quench her thirst. When she put down the water bag, she saw a familiar figure from the corner of her eye. She wanted to control herself and not look in his direction, but for some reason, she couldn't help but glance over. Although Xiao Su had ordered him to stay in the camp, ever since that day when they met under the tree, he had left with the army. She couldn't help but laugh at herself. It seemed that the two of them had broken off their relationship, and he wasn't even willing to look at her. She recalled how beautiful their future was back then. Unfortunately, at that time, neither of them would have thought that in the end, the two of them would be strangers. After today, she was going to leave. Perhaps after this farewell, they would never meet again. She didn't want to restrain herself anymore. She didn't want to laugh at herself for being useless or stupid. At this moment, she wanted to engrave his figure in her memory for the last time. This relationship had persisted for too long, so long that it had become a habit. She didn't know if she still had the strength to erase it from her heart. At this moment, he would just treat it as indulging himself. When she looked over, Ethereal was treating the wounds of a soldier. She seemed to have sensed something and looked in her direction. Their gazes met in midair, separated by dozens of figures. It felt as if the depths of their souls were slightly shaken because of this gaze. This gaze was like a flurry of flowers brushing past. There was no resentment or deep affection. It was as if it had transcended more than 10 years of memories and finally settled on this scene. If you no longer have love, then I wish you peace and health in the future. Cheng Yin Luo wanted to smile, but in the end, she couldn't bring herself to smile. In the end, she still couldn't let go. She was the first to retract her gaze. She lowered her head and looked at the water bag in her hand. The corners of her mouth turned bitter. Ethereal seemed to have understood the meaning in her eyes from afar. Her heart felt as if it had been hollowed out. Xiao, I'm very gratified that you think this way. However, it's not that I don't love you. It's just that my love will become a burden to you. You're such a good girl. In the future, you'll definitely meet someone better than me. So, you have to forget about me. Chu Qingyin saw this scene from afar. She sighed heavily and complained to the person beside her who was watching the army. If Ethereal wasn't your man, I would have beaten him up already. Xiao was puzzled. Did he provoke you again? Chu Qingyin snorted. None of you men are reliable. Xiao frowned slightly. She was actually venting her anger on him. It seemed that Ethereal had made a serious mistake. He had to find a time to talk to him properly. At this moment, Jean Xian rushed over on his horse. He walked up to Xiao and Chu Qingyin and cupped his hands in obeisance. Your Highness, young master, the city gates are open. The battlefield has been cleaned up. We can enter the city now. Xiao nodded and gave the order to depart. Thus, the army marched toward Qingqiao City in a grandiose manner. This battle took 4 days. Although it was intense, the destruction of the city wasn't too serious. Thus, the journey was smooth. When they were about to reach the city gates, they saw Fong Lu leading the army to welcome them from afar. The army was in high spirits. But not long after, they saw someone riding out from the city, looking flustered as he spoke to Fong Lu about something. When they met up, Xiao frowned at Fong Lu's unsightly expression and asked, What happened? Fong Lu didn't dare to hide anything and immediately replied, Just now, a subordinate reported that Fu Yu broke free and escaped in the chaos. He even injured many soldiers. Xiao brows furrowed deeply. How could he possibly escape under so many guards? It's this general's fault. I've already sent people to pursue him. Fong Lu immediately apologized with a look of self-blame. Xiao waved his hand. Forget it. It's good that you've already sent people to pursue him. Let's enter the city first. Fong Lu nodded and didn't dare to stay any longer. He immediately ordered his men to clear the path ahead. Chu Qingyin listened to their conversation from the side and couldn't help but look up at Qingqiao City in front of her. Her mind was spinning rapidly. This Qingqiao City only had 2 gates. According to Jean Xian's deployment, they should have already surrounded both sides and heavily guarded. Wanting to escape was simply a joke. Furthermore, Fu Yu wasn't Consort Xiang and couldn't have turned into a butterfly and flown away. So the question was, how did Fu Yu escape? This question kept circling in her mind, so much so that she didn't notice it even when she entered the city. When she came back to her senses, the scene before her jumped into her eyes. Qingqiao City occupied a vast area, so when she entered the city, she couldn't see anything other than the city walls. The ground was empty and yellow with no signs of life. It was hard to imagine that this was one of the 10 most prosperous cities in Sichuan that she had heard of before. Chu Qingyin couldn't help but sigh. Work had caused so much damage to people. Everywhere she looked, there was no prosperity. But for some reason, ever since she entered the city, her left eyelid kept twitching. She felt a little uneasy. But now that they were all on her side and the enemy had surrendered, she didn't know what else she had to worry about. But at this moment, on top of the city walls where the sun was the brightest, a figure suddenly appeared like a ghost. Standing with his back to the light, he was dressed in blue and had black hair. He was tall and had a vaguely familiar appearance. She quickly searched through the memories in her mind, and soon, this person overlapped with a person in her memory. Peng Huang? Chapter 975. When Chu Qingyan said this, it immediately attracted Xiao Su's vigilance. Following her line of sight, he met the gaze of the person on the wall and narrowed his eyes. Xiao Su, you must be very surprised to see this prince here. The voice was like the sound of an ancient bell. It was low, but there was a strong feeling to it, just like when they first met. Her guess being confirmed, Chu Qingyan was first shocked. At this time, he actually dared to show himself. Then she quickly felt that something was wrong. Why did Peng Huang dare to show himself at this time? He also had this kind of fearless appearance. Chu Qingyan couldn't help looking at the large block of ice beside her, but his expression was indifferent, and she couldn't see through his emotions. Peng Huang's appearance caused an uproar. Feng Lu, Jin Xin, and the others immediately ordered people to head to the city walls to capture him. Xiao Su met Peng Huang's gaze. Although he was a bit surprised by his appearance, he did not show it on his face. It is indeed unexpected that you're still alive. These words made Peng Huang's eyes flash with a trace of hostility. Because Xiao Su mentioned his previous miserable defeat, his expression immediately turned dark. Xiao Su, do you think you can be proud for long? You will soon be defeated by this prince. Is that so? Your Highness did not bring a single soldier and entered the city alone. Do you want to stay in the city as a guest? This king welcomes you. Xiao Su replied in a few words. Xiao Su, you are very confident, but there are times when confidence is not a good thing. For example, in terms of intelligence, you can't compare to this prince. Peng Huang revealed a proud look. Seeing them being kept in the dark and still having this kind of self-satisfied appearance, Peng Huang felt very happy. Chu Qingyan did not know where this person's courage came from. In this kind of situation, he could still boast like this. It really made people unable to understand the structure of his brain. At this moment, Glutinous Riceball and the others, who were following beside Chu Qingyan, had no idea what they were doing in the human world. They were very happy as they sniffed here and there. Suddenly, Bai Yutong sneezed loudly. Then, it walked to its master's leg and rubbed against it, asking for comfort. Xiao Su felt an itch on his calf. He looked down and saw Bai Yutong looking at him with teary eyes. Although she was soft-hearted, this was not the time to play with them. Just as she was about to get them to move aside, Snowflake Cake and Glutinous Riceball started sneezing as well. Everyone's attention was on Peng Huang, who was on the city walls, and no one was paying attention to them. Chu Qingyan scanned her surroundings and jumped off her horse to check if they had eaten something bad or caught a cold. Then, she checked a few of them and found that there was nothing wrong with them. However, as soon as they touched the ground, they began to sneeze again. She found it strange. Seeing this, Cheng Yinluo walked over and checked their noses. Then, she smiled and said, "It should be a foreign object that got into their nasal cavities. There's no problem. Tell them not to be naughty and sniff the ground." Chu Qingyan was relieved. However, she was still suspicious. These few do this all the time. Why are they suddenly like this? Maybe the soil here is different from other places. Cheng Yinluo replied casually. Chu Qingyan couldn't help but frown. Could it be that the soil inside and outside the city was different? Chu Qingyan wiped a handful of soil and put it in front of her nose to smell it. Suddenly, her body stiffened. In this soil, she was afraid that she had smelled it wrong. Immediately, she leaned closer and sniffed again. Her eyes widened. It was as if a thunderbolt had struck her on a sunny day. She was stunned and stood rooted to the ground. She stared blankly ahead. It was the same color, the same soil. So, after Cheng Yinluo comforted the few beasts, she turned to see Chu Qingyan's pale face. She couldn't help but tug at the corner of her clothes and ask softly, "What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Chu Qingyan stiffened her neck and turned to her. Her lips quivered as she said, "Yinluo, there's sulfur, saltpeter, and charcoal in this soil. What are these for?" Cheng Yinluo asked instinctively. When she realized what she was talking about, she was completely stunned. Chu Qingyan grabbed the soil in her hand and immediately rushed to Xiao Su. Xiao Su was talking to Peng Huang across the air. At this moment, he saw that the little fellow was so pale that she looked as if she had just been fished out of the water. His eyes darkened. Just as he was about to ask her, he heard her quickly say with a pale face, "There are explosives in the city. Quick, we have to evacuate immediately." Xiao Su's body trembled. He whispered back, "Are you sure?" "I'm very sure. I've studied explosives with the wood spirit for a period of time. The composition inside is basically the same as these." Chu Qingyan spread out the soil in her hand for him to see. Under the sunlight, he could see the charcoal shavings attached to the soil. Xiao Su didn't say anything else. He immediately ordered, "The rear troops will become the vanguard, and the vanguard will become the rear troops. Evacuate the city immediately. Immediately, immediately." He channeled his inner energy, and his voice was loud and clear, spreading throughout the city. Although the crowd didn't know what was going on, they immediately obeyed the order. Pang Huang was slightly surprised. He didn't expect them to discover his plan so quickly. But even if they did, it was too late. "Do you think you can still get out?" "Don't be too naive." Just as Pang Huang finished speaking, the crowd heard the heavy city gates fall. "Your Highness, the city gates are closed." Chu Qingyan was shocked. What was going on? Why was Pang Huang still able to control the city gates? But soon, several figures suddenly flashed in front of Chu Qingyan's eyes. They were commoners in ragged clothes. Could it be that those people weren't from the city, but were Pang Huang's men in disguise? If that was the case, then this trap was too ingenious. Pang Huang was too scary. It wasn't known who shouted that sentence, but the Sichuan soldiers in the city were in an uproar. Apart from a few people, no one knew what was going on. They only knew that the general had ordered them to leave the city immediately, but the city gates had been left behind by a few refugees. Everyone was at a loss. Pang Huang looked at the expressions of the people below and couldn't help but laugh. He pretended to be kind and said, "Everyone still doesn't know what's going on, right? But your general knows in his heart what kind of fire pit you're in right now." The Sichuan soldiers all looked at their general with bewilderment in their eyes. Xiao Su pursed his lips tightly and looked at Pang Huang with a stern gaze. Pang Huang didn't care about his gaze and laughed loudly at the crowd. "Let me tell you, there's already gunpowder scattered under your feet. Just a little spark, and you'll be blown away." As soon as he said this, everyone's expressions changed. They looked at Xiao Su in panic and helplessness. "General, is this true? Your Highness, what should we do?" The panicked voices of the crowd instantly resounded throughout the city. Pang Huang's words easily scattered the morale of the soldiers. The city gates were closed, and there were gunpowder under their feet. Life and death were in the hands of the person on the city gate tower. Chu Qingyan couldn't help but look at the person beside her, who was as cold as ice. Big Ice should be under a lot of pressure right now. Chapter 976. The sounds of panic in the city pleased Pang Huang. He looked down at Xiao Su mockingly. Even though they were far apart, he could still feel the anger radiating from him. "Xiao Su, do you know how much I wanted to see your panic face after I lost to you that day? I wanted to let you have a taste of being toyed with like this. Finally, it's time." "So the fall of Qinxiao City was all planned by you?" Fong Lu heard Pang Huang's words and stood up angrily. "That's right, it was all to take your lives." Pang Huang admitted it openly. Fong Lu cursed under his breath. Damn it. Chu Qingyan looked at Pang Huang in horror. He had used the life of a general to destroy a city and 30,000 soldiers to set up this trap. Should she say that this person was too good at strategizing, or that he was too cold-blooded and didn't care about human lives? Because the army had more than 50,000 people, and with the addition of the Southern Blue Army, it was difficult for the city to accommodate so many people. Thus, Xiao Su ordered most of the soldiers to stay outside the city. Thus, when the city gates fell, they separated the two sides. Even if the people outside noticed that something was wrong, they wouldn't be able to smash the gates open. Xiao Su looked around for flaws while calming Pang Huang down. "What conditions do you have? Just state them." Pang Huang chuckled. "Xiao Su, I want your life." "Sure." Xiao Su agreed without hesitation. "As long as you let them out." Chu Qingyan's heart tightened. She immediately stood beside him and reached out to hold his hand, silently indicating that she wouldn't leave. Xiao Su frowned at her. telling her to be obedient and not be willful. However, Chu Qingyan didn't even look at him. She only held his hand tightly. Hearing this, Pang Huang smiled. Xiao Su, I'm not that stupid. I know that this is your stalling tactic. Since you won't be able to survive if the fire goes down, why don't you let these people die with you? That way, you'll be able to enjoy being surrounded by people in the underworld. Am I being considerate? Xiao Su's expression was as cold as ice. At this time, Pang Huang turned his gaze to Chu Qingyan. He smiled and coaxed. Chu Yin, the person beside you won't be able to live for long. I'll still say the same thing. If you're willing to follow me, I'll guarantee you a lifetime of glory. Now, are you still willing to die with him? Chu Qingyan didn't expect him to think of her at a time like this. She looked at him with disdain. Pang Huang, I'll say it again. You want me to follow you? No way. I'd rather die than be with a despicable person like you. Chu Qingyan's words filled Pang Huang's heart with anger. She really was a person who refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. But without knowing why, he was still unwilling in the end. He confirmed it again. Then you're saying that you still choose Xiao Su? Chu Qingyan gave a soft snort. I pledge my life to follow our Sichuan hero. As soon as her voice fell, she felt the hand holding her tighten. She lowered her head and her lips curled into a smile. Who cared about life or death? As long as the person beside her was him, she would accompany him even if she had to climb a mountain of swords or dive into a pot of boiling oil. Pang Huang felt her cold taunting and determination. Seeing their sleeves tightly intertwined, his heart filled with anger. He raised his hand, and a bow appeared in his hand. Moreover, there was even a flame on the arrow. His eyes passed through the crowd and landed on Xiao Su, revealing his killing intent. Xiao Su, I wanted to chat with you a bit longer and see how you were fooled by this prince, but I never thought that you would find out this quickly. I feel like the game is about to end here, so it's time to say goodbye to you. I, Pang Huang, have never met an opponent in my life. You are one, but it's a pity that our paths are different, so we can't work together. However, being able to personally send you off, our meeting was not in vain. Chu Qingyan watched in a daze as the arrow flew into a pile of wood on the city wall not far away. The pile of wood was instantly ignited and fell down with the wind. This scene seemed like it had been played in slow motion, clearly playing out in front of her eyes. So when the person beside her charged over, she did not have time to react as she was pushed to the ground. She only heard a deafening explosion sound in her ears. Dust flew up and flames flew in all directions, instantly blurring her eyes. There were cries of pain all around her. However, the explosions did not stop and began to spread from the city walls. Pong, pong. There was gunpowder everywhere, and as long as there was a spark, it would cause a chain of explosions. The sky fell and the earth cracked. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. Cheng Yinluo held onto the horse beside her, but she could not stand steadily. At this time, the horse was also startled and broke free from its reins, kicking wildly. Just as it was about to kick her, a white figure suddenly appeared in front of her. He grabbed her waist and pulled her away from the horse, thus avoiding danger. When Cheng Yinluo steadied herself, she saw the person in front of her clearly. She was stunned. Why are you here? Ethereal was currently observing the situation and did not have time to say anything to her. Come, let's go this way. Cheng Yinluo was dragged along by him. She staggered a little and had yet to recover from the shock. At this moment, the person in front of her suddenly stopped. She could not dodge in time and bumped into his back, but she did not expect him to suddenly turn around and hug her before falling to the ground. She did not know what was going on and instinctively wanted to push him away, but she heard his urgent voice say, "Listen to me, don't move." These words were gentle, concerned, worried, and scared. They instantly evoked many scenes in the depths of her memory. But before she could think about it, a loud explosion exploded in her ears. The flames were scorching hot, and she felt uncomfortable all over. In the blink of an eye, she had fallen to the ground, but someone had already protected her from below. She fell on top of him and heard his muffled groan. The entire city was in the midst of explosions. Smoke and dust flew everywhere, and she could not see clearly. That muffled groan made her heart clench. She was afraid of crushing him, so she reached out to support herself on the ground. However, her fingers felt something sticky and warm. Just now, when the explosives exploded in front of her, he had hugged her and shielded her from the impact and heat. She panicked and suddenly had a bad premonition. But at this moment, she could not see anything. Her hands carelessly touched his body. She opened her mouth to call out to him, but she choked on a few mouthfuls of smoke and coughed uncontrollably. Xiao Yin, I am fine. Hurry and run to Master and the little princess consort's side. Don't stay here. His voice was so weak that it seemed like it would disappear at any moment. It carried a gentle persuasion. She could almost imagine the faint, doting smile on his face when she heard this voice. Cheng Yinluo coughed, and tears welled up in her eyes. At this moment, she had already touched his face. The warmth from her fingertips made her sob. She said in a hoarse voice and incoherently, Murong, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'll take you away. I won't leave you alone. How are you? Can you still walk? Don't scare me. Chapter 977. Xiaoyan, don't say such silly things. Hurry up and leave. Ethereal lay on the ground. His clothes were in tatters, and his skin was a bloody mess. However, the smile on his face was still as gentle as ever. A gust of wind blew, dispersing the fog in front of her. Only then did Cheng Yinluo see that his face was covered in blood. Her hands trembled as she gently caressed his face. She lamented, Don't you no longer have me in your heart? Why did you save me just now? Ethereal looked at her gently. Silly girl, how could I just stand by and watch when you were in danger? Then why didn't you care about me before? The explosions and cries of agony seemed to be fading away. Other than the person in front of her, she couldn't bear anything else. At this moment, life and death didn't seem so important. She wanted to know the answer, and her heart clenched tightly. You could have avoided it. Why did you turn around and hug me? Ethereal was afraid that she would miss the rescue if she continued to be so stubborn. He said again, Xiaoyan, don't ask anything now. Hurry up and leave. No, she said hoarsely. If I leave, I won't have the chance to ask again. Morong, I'm afraid of death. But compared to not being able to see you again, death is nothing to be afraid of. Hearing her stubborn voice, Ethereal knew that if this continued, she would continue to pester him. In the end, he hardened his heart. Xiaoyan, we've already made it clear. Why do you have to continue pestering me? Let's both let go. At this point, if she still believed his nonsense, she would be a fool. Morong, tell me the truth. Look into my eyes and tell me the truth. Did you say those words from the bottom of your heart? Do you really want to cut ties with me? Ethereal was about to speak when she interrupted him. Pat your chest and swear in my name that if you're not telling the truth, I'll be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Ethereal's words were stuck in his throat. He looked at her in a daze. He couldn't believe that she would make him swear in her name. Are you speechless? Cheng Yinluo bit her lip and looked at him with an aggrieved expression. Morong, why can't you be more honest? Why do you always say things that don't mean? Why do you always lie to me? Morong, is it that difficult to speak the truth? Do I have to use this method to force you to not lie to me? She questioned with tears falling like rain. I'm not sad that you don't have me in your heart, but I'm sad that you never tell me the truth. Was it really that difficult to say that he cared? I know that I've seen everything you've done for me. But Morong, I just want to get a word of affirmation. You made me wait for so many years for a good reason. I don't want to be a fool anymore. Can you understand how I feel? Morong, I love you. From the moment you found me on the mountain, I've already fallen in love with you. I've been waiting for you for more than 10 years. I've already fallen in love with you. I'm a girl, yet I'm already so brave. What about you? I like you. More than 10 years of repeated waiting. I've fallen in love with you. In an instant, all the smoke and gunpowder had left, and all the rumbling noises had disappeared. In his eyes, there was only her teary and extremely pathetic appearance, as well as her sobbing words. Ethereal's lips moved. When he spoke slowly, his throat was hoarse. Xiaoyan, I'm sorry. I love you. Chung Yin Luo covered her mouth and stared at him with wide eyes. She couldn't believe that he would confess his feelings at this time. The surprise came suddenly, but it was followed by deep sadness. Were they going to be separated again after he confessed his feelings? Why did you only admit it now? Why? Chung Yin Luo grabbed his hand. She was in so much pain that she couldn't speak. When the words that had been suppressed in his heart for more than 10 years finally came out, Ethereal felt his whole body relax. After holding it in for so long, he finally said it to the person he wanted to say. He was really happy. He smiled and said softly, "Because I've seen too many deaths on the battlefield. I'm afraid that one day you'll be in so much pain that you'll wish you were dead because of me. If I'm destined to be hurt, then I might as well leave you as soon as possible." Chung Yin Luo cried and laughed during his explanation. "You're a coward. 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 Yes, I'm a coward. I can't bear the thought of you living alone. I'm destined to be on the edge of a knife. I don't have the right to give you happiness, so I can only cruelly push you away." Ethereal laughed self-deprecatingly. "I'm afraid that I'll follow in Wind Spirit's footsteps and make you suffer like Water Spirit. But you see, I didn't do a good job. I didn't protect myself well, and I didn't send you away safely. In the end, I reap what I sowed and let you see this scene. I don't know Wind Spirit or Water Spirit. I don't know what they're thinking. We're not them, and you're not me. How would you know what I want? I don't want you to treat me well in the name of love. I just want to be by your side. Whether in life or death, I won't leave you." Chung Yin Luo shook her head and refuted his words. Ethereal's face was full of tenderness. He raised his hand with great effort and placed it on hers. He gently persuaded, "Xiao, if you can leave this place safely, forget about me. You're such a good girl. You'll definitely meet someone better than me who will take care of you. Most importantly, he'll have a lifetime to accompany you. Unlike me, whose life and death are unpredictable, I can't be by your side all the time. Is that all right, Xiao?" Chung Yin Luo shook her head vigorously. "No, I don't want that. I only want you. I only want you to live. I don't want anyone else. No matter how good someone else is, it has nothing to do with me. Xiao, be good and listen to me. Leave this place and find Master and Little Princess Consort. They'll take you away and then forget about me." Ethereal felt his strength slowly leaving his body. His voice became weaker and weaker, and he could barely see the person in front of him. He tried his best to open his eyes, wanting to engrave her every frown and smile in his heart forever. Chung Yin Luo's fingers clasped his wrist. She could clearly feel his breath gradually weakening. She couldn't help but panic. She cried and shook her head. "Morong, don't go, all right? I'll listen to you. I'll listen to you. If you don't want me to be by your side, I won't be by your side. I'll go wherever you want me to go. I just want you to live, all right?" Ethereal's eyes were filled with heartache. He slowly raised his hand, wanting to touch her face and wipe away her tears. "Xiao, you have to live well." However, his hand fell before he could touch her face. The most painful thing in life was to love, but not be able to express it. Words, but not be able to keep each other company. A teardrop appeared at the corner of his eye and silently flowed down. Chapter 978. Chung Yin Luo was stunned as she watched his hand fall. Instinctively, she reached out to hold his hand, but he had already closed his eyes. She threw herself at him and hugged his body in despair. "Morong, how could you abandon me? How could you bear to leave me like this? What do you think? What do you think? But do you really think that's what I want? I don't want you to think that you're good to me. I just want you to be alive and well. Even if you want to follow the army, just tell me. I won't refuse." She questioned him repeatedly, but eventually, her tone softened and turned into a pleading one. "I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have ignored you when you took the initiative to express your goodwill. I shouldn't have immersed myself in my own sorrow and neglected the fact that you've been suffering all these years. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please open your eyes and look at me, okay? I won't be stubborn anymore. I won't bother you anymore. I'll listen to you and be obedient. I won't make a fuss. Please come back to life, okay? All our grudges are nothing compared to the fact that you're still alive. Since you're afraid that I'll be lonely in this world, then I'll accompany you. If you don't treat me well in this lifetime and make me sad, then I'll follow you for the next lifetime. If you don't treat me well, I'll annoy you until you don't dare to." Tears rolled down her cheeks again. Chung Yin Luo finally leaned on him and sobbed. Why is it so difficult to be in love and to be together? Meanwhile, on the other side, the explosions seemed to have stopped for a while. Chu Qingyin felt someone pressing down on her. She slowly got up, but the person behind her continued to protect her. "Ian, are you okay?" It was Big Ice Cube. She immediately turned to look at him, her gaze searching his body. "I'm fine. How about you?" "I'm fine too." Xiao Su saw that she was fine, except for some black ash on her face. He immediately pulled her up from the ground and looked around vigilantly. "Big Ice Cube, what should we do?" The black smoke in the sky made her cough uncontrollably. "Let's go to the city gate first," Xiao Su said calmly. Although it was very dangerous at this time, and she might die in the next second, but with the Big Ice Cube beside her, his calm voice gave her great peace of mind. Okay. At this time, the soldiers who were fleeing in all directions from the explosion gathered around. "Hualing, can the city gate be opened?" Xiao Su immediately asked. Before this, he had already sent Hualing to investigate the exit. Hualing walked over with a face covered in soot. His expression was very serious. "The city gates are locked and can't be opened." The city gates of Qingqiao City were controlled by mechanisms. One of them was to prevent enemies from forcing their way in. Once it was opened, it could not be opened again. Now, Pang Huang's men had triggered this mechanism. Xiao Su's face immediately turned cold. He continued to lead his men towards the city gate. "If there's no way out, we'll dig a tunnel. Hurry up and don't give up on the last hope." The people in the city couldn't get out, and the people in the city couldn't get in. The only thing they could do now was to use this last resort. Yes, everyone accepted the order. It was very likely that the explosion would happen again. Digging a tunnel to be rescued was very unlikely, but they had no other choice. However, Xiao Su's words were like a needle that calmed everyone down. They stopped making noise and started digging with their swords and knives. Chu Qingyin looked at everyone working together and then turned to look at the explosion that was getting closer. A trace of determination appeared in her eyes as she resolutely pulled out her sword. Bai Yutong, Snowflake Cake, and Glutinous Rice Ball also understood the danger at this time. They did not make a fuss and cooperatively contributed their claws. In a small matter like digging a tunnel, you humans are not our match. Just as everyone started digging according to Xiao Su's instructions at the city gate, which was a relatively weak place, suddenly, a familiar eagle cry came from the sky. Chu Qingyin was slightly stunned and was in disbelief. However, the eagle cry came closer and closer. Moreover, it came one after another, as if there were thousands of them crying at the same time. Chu Qingyin was still in a daze when Glutinous Rice Ball tugged at her sleeve, indicating for her to look up. At this time, someone cried out in alarm, "Your Highness, look, it's a flock of eagles." Xiao Su and Chu Qingyin looked up and saw Xiao Hai leading a flock of giant eagles flying over. Xiao Hai, wasn't it still by her side when they entered the city? When did it call for reinforcements? Big Ice Cube, we seem to be saved. Chu Qingyin's eyes were moist as she happily said. Xiao Su smiled and looked back at her. They came really quickly. At this time, Xiao Hai led the flock of eagles to avoid the explosion and immediately approached the ground while crying out "Xiao Xiao." Chu Qingyin raised her voice. "Everyone stop what you are doing. The flock of eagles will take you away. Move faster." The giant eagles flapped their wings and landed beside them. The soldiers received the order and immediately climbed onto their backs. Then they were quickly lifted off the ground. Seeing everyone leave one by one, Huling, Turin, Jean Exon, and the others immediately surrounded the two of them and said in unison, "Master, quickly go up." Xiao Hai led a few eagles to surround them. "You go up first," Xiao Su said coldly to them. Huling and the others saw that Xiao Hai had already brought another giant eagle to wait beside the young princess consort and their master. They immediately stood beside their own eagles and prepared to wait for them to take off before jumping on them. Chu Qingyin nodded and was about to go up when she suddenly thought of something. She looked around. "Have you seen Yin Luo?" "No." Turin shook his head. "I don't seem to see Ethereal either." Chu Qingyin's expression changed slightly. "No, I have to find her." Jean Xin was anxious at this time. "Master, you leave here first. This subordinate will help you find Miss Cheng." "No need, I'll bring people. I'll find her myself." Chu Qingyin didn't say another word and prepared to leave. But at this time, Xiao Su grabbed her hand and said with a serious expression, "I'll go with you." Chu Qingyin wanted to shake her head, but the strength on her wrist made her unable to refuse. She bit her lip and looked at him. Finally, she compromised. This time, Huoling and the others couldn't hold themselves back and wanted to dissuade her. Chu Qingyin turned around and said to Xiaohai, "Send them up." Xiaohai cried out, and the giant eagle standing beside Jean Xin and the others caught them off guard. It picked them up and threw them on its back, then quickly flew into the sky. "Master, young princess consort." In the air, there were several people calling out to her. Chu Qingyin gave Xiaohai a thumbs up, and Xiaohai responded with a proud cry. "Big ice cube, I'll look for them myself. Can you go first?" When they were gone, Chu Qingyin turned to discuss with him. Xiao Su took her to avoid an explosion and said firmly, "If you want me to leave you here alone, I'll have to die." Chu Qingyin smiled helplessly and sweetly. So she didn't say anything else and followed him, quickly looking for the two people. Chapter 979. Chu Qingyin and Xiao Su continued to move forward in the thick black smoke. Xiaohai and another giant eagle followed behind them. The two men and two eagles moved swiftly through the forest. As they passed by the soldiers who had been blasted beyond recognition, Chu Qingyin could clearly feel that the person beside her was suppressing his emotions. She tightened her grip on his fingers and silently gave him strength. Xiao Su's brows slowly relaxed because of her gentle and silent support. He looked around. The city gate wasn't big, but the thick smoke obstructed their view. Soon, they saw Yin Luo kneeling on the ground and immediately rushed over. But when they saw the person lying on the ground, they were stunned. Chu Qingyin immediately squatted down and supported the tottering person with both hands. She said softly, "Yin Luo, we're here. We'll take you away." Her slackened and swollen eyes slowly regained their focus. She turned to look at Chu Qingyin, but didn't answer her question. "Little girl, Morong said that he loves me very, very much. Everything he said in the past was a lie." Cheng Yinluo's words stunned Chu Qingyin. She didn't expect that in such a short time, the two of them had already resolved the knot in their hearts. But at such a time, Chu Qingyin suppressed the grief in her heart and continued to persuade her. "Yes, he really loves you, but he's asleep now. Let's not disturb him, okay? What ethereal is lying here? I want to see him wake up." Cheng Yinluo tugged at Chu Qingyin's sleeve with teary eyes. She was like a lost child, helpless and hesitant. "Yinluo, don't be like this. The entire city is now filled with explosives. The rest of the people have been taken away by the eagles. It's very dangerous here. Come with us, or this place will explode." Chu Qingyin glanced at the ethereal on the ground. It seemed to have stopped breathing and was just lying there quietly. Her eyes burned, and she didn't dare to look at him again. When Cheng Yinluo heard that they were leaving, she immediately struggled out of Chu Qingyin's arms and threw herself at Ethereal. She hugged him tightly and shook her head desperately. "No, I don't want to leave him. Since we can't be together in life, let's die together. If we can't be together in life, let's die together." When Chu Qingyin heard this, she almost burst into tears. At that moment, Xiao Su struck Cheng Yinluo's neck with his blade. Cheng Yinluo, who was crying uncontrollably, fainted, but her hands were still clutching Ethereal's clothes tightly. Chu Qingyin stared blankly at Xiao Su. The latter said calmly, "Ethereal is still breathing. If we delay any longer, I'm afraid he'll really meet the king of hell." Chu Qingyin heaved a sigh of relief. However, Xiao Su's heart was still in his throat. Ethereal's injuries were very serious. When he checked his pulse just now, he only felt a weak pulse. The situation was very bad, but now was not the time to explain. He said, "Help Yinluo up." Chu Qingyan nodded and immediately helped Yinluo up. She wanted to help Xiaohai up, but Xiaohai refused and flapped its wings. Whoosh whoosh. Chu Qingyan immediately understood Xiaohai's intention. Only Xiaohai and the other giant eagle were left. If Yinluo and Ethereal got on, there would be no one to take care of her and the ice cube. Xiaohai only wanted to carry her. She was very touched by Xiaohai's sincerity. She softly persuaded, "Xiaohai, Yinluo is my friend. We can't abandon her. Listen to me and take her away. I promise I'll get out of here safely." Xiaohai looked at her suspiciously. Without Xiaohai's instructions, the giant eagle on Ethereal's back stood motionless. Seeing that the two of them had no intention of leaving, Chu Qingyan was a little anxious. She immediately put on a stern face. "Xiaohai, as your master, I order you to leave this place immediately." Xiaohai looked at her stubbornly. Whoosh whoosh. Translation: when the general is out in the field, the monarch's orders cannot be obeyed. When Chu Qingyan understood Xiaohai's words, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, she was more touched and helpless. At this moment, Xiao Su walked over after settling Ethereal down. He said solemnly, "Xiaohai, I promise to send her out safely." Xiaohai glanced at Xiao Su and hesitated for a moment before reluctantly nodding. "I'll believe you, human, for now." Before it left, it even threatened Xiao Su. "If you don't fulfill your promise, this Eagle King will stir up chaos in your army." Then it rubbed against Chu Qingyan's hand and flapped its wings, carrying Chung Yinluo up into the sky. The other giant eagle followed closely behind. After watching the two of them fly away, Xiao Su put a hand on Chu Qingyan's shoulder and frowned. "I was actually threatened by an eagle?" His tone was filled with disbelief and absurdity. Chu Qingyan smiled and turned to look at him. "Then what are you going to do about it?" Xiao Su chuckled. "When we get out, don't stop me when I teach it a lesson." Chu Qingyan glared at him, meaning to say, "Aren't you embarrassed to compete with an eagle?" Just as she was criticizing him, the person beside her suddenly walked to her and half squatted in front of her. "Come up. I can walk by myself." Chu Qingyan quickly shook her head and walked to the side. "Your injuries haven't fully healed yet. It'll be difficult for you to circulate your energy. It'll be faster if I carry you." Xiao Su stepped forward and grabbed her wrist. His gaze was fixed on her as he spoke in a serious tone. But she wanted to say something but was quickly interrupted by Xiao Su. "No buts." As soon as Xiao Su's words fell, an explosion sounded not far away from the two of them. Following that, it didn't stop. As the sound got closer, the air became thinner and the explosions became more frequent. The two of them couldn't delay any longer. Chu Qingyan could only obediently lean on his back, but her voice was still worried. "Big Ice Cube, this will only burden you." After confirming that she was safe, Xiao Su raised his internal energy. With a tap of his foot on the ground, he instantly flew several zhang away. As he avoided the explosion, he spoke to the person behind him. "You are my life, not a burden." Her heart was immediately filled with emotions. She pursed her lips and asked with a sweet expression, "Then do you have any good ideas? Ian, do you trust me?" Chu Qingyan nodded without hesitation. "I do." "Good. Then I'll definitely bring you out." In a place where Chu Qingyan couldn't see, Xiao Su's eyes were curved and there was an unstoppable glint in his eyes. The person on his back was the treasure of his life. How could he gamble with her life? He would do his best to ensure her safety. The Big Ice Cube's speed was very fast. This was the first time she experienced what Lu Guang meant by the speed of an arrow. The smoke was very large, confusing her eyes. She couldn't see anything clearly and choked her to the point that she couldn't speak. Since she couldn't see or speak, then she could only tightly hug the person beneath her. She had always believed that the Big Ice Cube was a powerful and omnipotent person. As long as she followed him, she could go to heaven or hell. Chapter 980. No matter how dangerous it was, as long as he was around, she was not afraid of anything. Just like right now, she was willing to put all her life in his hands. Perhaps 5 years ago, when she was still in the modern world, she could not have imagined that one day she would disregard life and death for one person, and face the calamity of life with such righteousness. In the past, she had never come into contact with the feelings between men and women, so she did not understand these things. Now, she understood the true meaning of loving someone. Chu Qingyan hugged him tightly. At this moment, she did not want to think about anything. Even if she died, she was not afraid. Soon, Xiao Su carried her through the layers of black fog and arrived at the bottom of the city wall. Because the other city walls were built very high to block the mudslide, only the 2 city gates were relatively low. Big ice block, there's nowhere to go. Chu Qingyan opened her eyes and saw the city gates close at hand. She looked around. Xiao Su chuckled. Although there's nowhere to go, don't forget, we can still fly. After saying this, her eyes lit up. What do you mean? Xiao Su smiled and did not answer her question. Instead, he used practical actions to prove his point. He raised his head to look at the height of the city gate tower, then slowly moved back. Chu Qingyan knew what he was doing. Her face was full of surprise, but she almost blurted out a question. Then why didn't you just use Qinggong to fly out of the city when the explosion happened? But she immediately stopped because she had already thought of the reason when she opened her mouth. How could the big ice block abandon everyone and leave alone? He was not that kind of person. If it really came to a point of no return, he would rather choose to die with everyone than to escape alone. This was her big ice block, a loyal and affectionate Sichuan king of England. If you're afraid, close your eyes. Xiao Su whispered after getting into position. I'm not afraid. She immediately shook her head, then whispered in his ear, Big ice block, I'll give you a loving encouragement. After saying this, Xiao Su felt a slight chill on his cheeks. It was itchy, warm, and wet, tickling his heart. A gentle smile appeared on his face. I'd rather you give me a loving reward after we leave. Chu Qingyan understood what he meant and immediately patted him on the shoulder, muttering, You're so annoying. Xiao Su laughed heartily. Chu Qingyan could not help but admire him for being so unrestrained at this moment of life and death. But then, she blushed and said, Let's talk after we leave. At this critical juncture, no matter what he wanted, she was willing to give him. Some things should be cherished while they were still alive. Otherwise, when the accident happened, there would be no chance to make up for it. Because of this, the Sichuan was Sichuan's. If the two of them were willing to open their hearts before this, perhaps they would not have fallen to this point. Xiao Su curled his lips and did not say anything more. His hands clenched tightly, allowing her to stick close to him. Wei circulated his internal energy to the extreme. He said in a low voice, Hold on tight. She immediately closed her eyes and pressed her face against his shoulder, replying silently. Xiao Su tiptoed, and like an arrow leaving the bow, he quickly rushed to the city wall. The moment he stepped on the wall, he clenched his hands and walked on the wall smoothly. Chu Qingyan felt that the wind was very strong, so strong that her whole body was about to fly out. She could not help but open her eyes, only to see the boundless blue sky in front of her. She looked back and saw the ground gradually moving away from her, as well as the exploding black smoke. This was the real leaping over eaves and vaulting over walls. She had once prostrated herself in admiration of Lu Guang's Qinggong, but Lu Guang told her that the real powerful one was his master, because all of their Qinggong was taught by his master. Unfortunately, for so many years, she had never had the chance to see the big ice cube celebration. She did not expect that the thing that would realize her injustice would be the series of terrible, earth-shattering explosions behind her. Xiao Su's feet were tightly pressed against the wall, and he stepped on it in one go, as if it was as natural as walking on flat ground. The explosives caused the ground to shake, but Xiao Su did not dare to be distracted. He concentrated on walking on the shaking wall. Behind him was his life's hope, responsibility, and happiness. He could not let her down. He circulated his internal energy again and flew straight on the wall. When he was only a few steps away from the wall, Xiao Su's brows furrowed. He did not relax and increased his speed to the extreme, flying up quickly. However, at this time, several men in black suddenly appeared on the wall. They seemed to have been waiting for a long time. When they saw the two of them appear, they cruelly revealed their weapons. As they flew, they threw the darts in their hands at them. If Xiao Su dodged at this time, then the two of them would fall. It was also impossible for him to draw his long sword, because he was still carrying the little fellow on his back. Thus, Xiao Su called out in a firm tone, "Ian, here." She had already seen the men in black, just now. Before the big ice cube spoke, she was already on guard. At this time, she hugged him with one hand and used the other to draw her soft sword. The silver light reflected a dazzling light under the sun, causing the people above to squint their eyes. Chu Qingyan quickly swung her sword, and the falling darts were bounced off by her long sword. When the men in black saw this, they could not help but throw their hidden weapons more intensively. Chu Qingyan frowned, the sweat on her forehead falling like rain, and her wrists kept waving. The big ice cube trusted her so much, moving forward courageously and leaving the front to her. She must not disappoint him. Thus, she activated her inner strength and drew a sword flower, blocking the falling hidden weapons from the two of them. Then, she used her inner strength to bounce the hidden weapons back. The men in black on the city wall could not dodge in time and were hit. At this time, the two of them had already reached the top of the city wall. Xiao Su tapped the ground with the tip of his foot, carrying the person on his back, and jumped up. He somersaulted in the air and landed steadily on the city gate tower. The moment he landed, he had already pulled out the sword at his waist. Xiao Su waved his sword with cold eyes, and immediately the wind and clouds surged on the city tower. In a few blinks of an eye, the men in black on the city tower were killed one by one. Chu Qingyan stroked her chest. Following the aura, she swept a glance at the people on the ground, then said to the big ice cube, "We can't stay here for long. We have to leave as soon as possible." Who knew how many of Pang Huang's men were still here? Let's go down first. Xiao Su nodded, kept his sword, and jumped up the wall with her, flying down. The sound of the wind blew their clothes up, and the corners of their clothes danced in the air like flowers. The ink-black hair in red and the ink-black hair in silver were like two dazzling rays of light, like gods descending to the world, appearing in front of the tens of thousands of eyes below that were full of anticipation and uneasiness. "Your Highness, Master, young Master, awu, whoosh whoosh." Chapter 981. Xiao Su and Chu Qingyan descended from the sky without much external injuries, causing everyone to heave a sigh of relief. Once they landed, Xiao Su put down the people behind him. Just as he was about to speak, a thunderous explosion came from the city behind him. Everyone immediately fell to the ground as the earth shook, as though the entire world was about to collapse. Dust and debris fell, covering everyone's bodies. Everyone crawled up with dust all over their faces. However, everyone's faces were filled with fear and joy of surviving calamity. If they had left a little later, they would have been blown to smithereens. Everyone could not help but look at Chu Qingyan, who was wiping the dust off her face, their eyes filled with gratitude. If not for the appearance of her group of eagles, how could they still be standing here? Although there were only a few thousand people who entered the city, they were still the vanguard of the three armies. Seeing that they were grateful to the little fellow, Xiao Su's lips curled up. He was very willing for these people to owe the little fellow a favor. Chu Qingyan did not know that she had gained another favor, which would be of great help to her in the future. At this time, Xiao Su looked around at everyone and saw that they were all in a sorry state. His eyes darkened, and he immediately ordered people to surround the entire city and set up camp there, waiting for the dust to settle before entering the city. The injured soldiers all went down to treat their injuries, while the remaining soldiers who did not enter the city immediately carried out their orders. Although the explosion came suddenly and caused panic in the three armies, as the main commander, His Highness, was still standing in front of them, calmly giving them orders, their hearts finally settled down. After experiencing a life and death calamity, everyone was more united and did things in an orderly manner. When they entered the main tent, Fong Lu and a few others lined up in a row and knelt down to beg for forgiveness. Fong Lu blamed himself. "Your Highness, the few of us did not make full preparations before entering the city, allowing the enemy to take advantage of the loophole and cause this explosion. This general has committed a grave sin." Xing Cheng chimed in. "General Fong is right. We were too careless and did not notice the enemy's plan. When Fu Yu escaped, we should have noticed that something was amiss, but we didn't, which led to this disaster and caused His Highness to fall into such a dangerous situation. This general is willing to accept the punishment." Jean Xian lowered his head. "This general is also guilty. I'm willing to accept the punishment." Xiao Su sat on the main seat and watched the soldiers calmly and self-reproachfully explain the situation. His fingers tapped the table lightly, and his expression was indifferent, making it difficult for others to fathom his current mood. At this time, Gao Hao stood up and cupped his hands. "Your Highness, although these colleagues have an undeniable responsibility for falling into the trap this time, this matter cannot be entirely blamed on them. Pang Huang is too vicious and merciless. No one would have thought that he would use 30,000 soldiers as bait. His level of ruthlessness is beyond our expectations." Chu Qingyan also stood up and said with a frown, "Now is the time when we need people. Your Highness, you can give them a chance to perform meritorious deeds to atone for their crimes." Xiao Su scanned the crowd. Seeing that everyone was pleading for mercy, he slowly said, "All right, since everyone is pleading for you, I'll give you a chance to atone for your crimes." "Thank you, Your Highness." The three bowed their heads and thanked him. Chu Qingyan looked at Big Ice Cube, who had a cold expression ever since he came out of the city. She knew that he did not feel good about the losses this time. She also knew that Fong Lu and the other two could not be blamed for this battle. However, it was not good for him to express his opinion. After this failure, most of the soldiers had resentment in their hearts. He could not suppress this resentment. Otherwise, it would not be good for the three of them to lead the army in the future. Therefore, his silence made everyone feel better. He was willing to step out to protect Fong Lu and the other two. This was more convincing than him taking the initiative to show mercy. Chu Qingyan felt that commanding an army was not an easy skill. Everyone looked exhausted. Xiao Su did not say much. After making arrangements, he dismissed them. At this time, Hualing hurriedly walked in. "Master, ethereal situation is not good." These anxious words made Xiao Su immediately stand up from his chair. He strode out with Hualing, and Chu Qingyan immediately followed closely behind. Her heart was beating like a drum, and there was a strong sense of unease. She thought of the blood-soaked Kong Ling in the city, his lifeless face, and Yin Luo's pained expression. Her heart was filled with unbearable pain. Standing in front of the tent, she suddenly did not dare to lift the curtain, afraid that it would be bad news. Xiao Su, who discovered her hesitation, turned around and held her hand. He looked at her deeply. "No matter what it is, you have to face it. Running away will not solve the problem." Chu Qingyan suddenly raised her head and looked at him with sour eyes. Actually, Big Ice Cube should be the one feeling worse than her. Ethereal had followed him for more than 10 years, and their friendship was even deeper. She held his hand and nodded heavily. Xiao Su smiled gently at her, then restrained his smile and brought her into the tent. "I can't feel her pulse anymore. Let's prepare for her funeral." She had just entered the tent when she heard an unfamiliar voice. She clearly felt Big Ice Cube's hand tighten. She did not care about the pain from his grip and said in a daze, "Big Ice Cube, did I hear wrongly? What did he mean by preparing for a funeral?" "Ethereal." Xiao Su's face darkened as he strode in. At this time, the military doctor who had spoken saw Xiao Su walk in and immediately lowered his head. "General, Mr. Ethereal has lost too much blood. His internal organs have been severely impacted by the explosives and are gradually deteriorating. There is no way to save him." A trace of grief flashed across Xiao Su's face. He looked at the person lying quietly on the ground and did not move. "No, Ethereal survived such a serious sword injury a few years ago. It will be the same this time. Hualing hugged his head and squatted down. His voice was full of pain. Turin could not help but cover his eyes with his hands. He also looked like he was in pain. Chu Qingyan could feel the thick sadness in the air. She sniffed and looked at Ethereal lying on the bed. His face was pale and bloodless, and his clothes were dyed red with blood. The military doctor kept trying to stop the bleeding, but it was useless. She suddenly remembered the first time they met. He appeared in front of her in a snow-white robe and looked at her with a scrutinizing gaze. At that time, she was poisoned by a pastry by mistake, and he was urgently summoned by Big Ice Cube from a faraway place. He was dissatisfied with her identity. After all, she was still young at that time. Moreover, it was the Sichuan emperor who arranged the marriage. He was vaguely hostile toward her, but he did not stand by and do nothing when she was poisoned because of this. Later on, when they slowly got to know each other, she felt that he was a gentle and kind person. Then, Yin Luo's appearance showed her that Ethereal was infatuated with love, but also endured for the sake of love. These scenes flashed before her eyes, causing her eyes to turn red. Suddenly, a heart-wrenching scream came from outside the tent. "No, I won't let him die like this." Chapter 982. This voice, Yin Luo? Chu Qingyan turned around and saw Chung Yin Luo dashing in from outside. Her clothes were stained with blood, but she couldn't tell if it was hers or someone else's. She rushed forward and pushed the people blocking her way aside. Then, she leaned against Ethereal's bedside, poured out a pill from the bottle in her hand, and stuffed it into his mouth. Hualing quickly handed over a bowl of water. Chung Yin Luo took it and carefully fed him. The military doctor was puzzled. "Miss Chung, what did you feed Sir Ethereal?" Chung Yin Luo couldn't be bothered to answer him. After she successfully fed him, she immediately reached out to take Ethereal's pulse. She carefully felt his pulse until she felt a weak pulse. Then, she slumped against the bed wall. Fortunately, she made it in time. "Yin Luo, are you all right?" Chu Qingyan saw her disheveled appearance and went forward to ask with concern. Chung Yin Luo shook her head, her voice downcast. "I'm fine. I fed Morong a life-prolonging pill just now. It should last for at least 10 days. 10 days? Chu Qingyan couldn't help but smile in relief. Hualing immediately asked, "Does that mean Ethereal can be saved?" Although the military doctor was surprised that Chung Yin Luo had a rare life-prolonging pill, he waved his hand and said firmly, "There's no way Sir can save him. Even with the life-prolonging pill, he won't be able to last the next few days. His internal organs are damaged. Even if the Daluo immortals come, they won't be able to save him. Rather than waiting for death, it's better to let him leave this suffering as soon as possible." When Chu Qingyan heard this, she wanted to stop the military doctor, but it was too late. His words were simply adding fuel to the fire in front of Yin Luo. As expected, Chung Yin Luo looked coldly at the military doctor and said coldly, "He's my man. It's not up to you to make sarcastic remarks. If I say he can be saved, then he can be saved. You're not as skilled as others, so don't try to make your presence known here." You shrew. This military doctor had quite a bit of prestige in the military camp. Now that Chung Yin Luo had mercilessly refuted him, he couldn't find a way out of this embarrassing situation. He also felt that it wasn't dignified to bicker with a woman, so he immediately turned to Xiao Su and said, "Your Highness, since this divine female doctor is here, this one will go and take care of the soldiers." After receiving Xiao Su's approval, the military doctor left in a huff. Chu Qingyan sighed. Ethereal was Yin Luo's bottom line. No one was allowed to touch it, especially when it was a matter of life and death. Hualing felt that his anger had been vented. He gave Chung Yin Luo a thumbs up. "You're bold." The corners of Chung Yin Luo's mouth twitched. All her energy was focused on Ethereal. Xiao Su stepped forward and asked with a frown, "Miss Chung, how is Ethereal doing now?" Chung Yin Luo smiled bitterly. "I used a life-prolonging pill to save his life, but I don't have a way to save him yet." Xiao Su pursed his lips into a thin line. "All right, let me know if you need any medicinal herbs. Please save him no matter what." "I will. I definitely will." Cheng Yin-luo muttered to herself. Xiao Su looked deeply at Huo Ling, who was lying on the bed, and said sincerely, I'm counting on you. At this moment, someone came to look for him. Xiao Su couldn't stay for long. After instructing the others to take good care of him, he left first. Huo Ling and Turin also had missions. Although they were anxious, they had to leave first. At this moment, other than Cheng Yin-luo, only Chu Qingyan was in the tent. Chu Qingyan couldn't bear to see Cheng Yin-luo so haggard in just a day. She had someone cook a bowl of porridge and brought it over. Yin-luo, eat some. Don't tire yourself out. Otherwise, you'll lose more than you gain. Cheng Yin-luo shook her head. I don't have the appetite. Just leave it there. She sighed and put the bowl aside. Then, she reached out and held Yin-luo's shoulder. Ethereal won't wake up for a while. Shall I get someone to take you to rest for a while? Cheng Yin-luo reached out and placed her hand on the back of Chu Qingyan's hand. Her voice was hoarse as she said, I'm fine. I feel more at ease here. This was because the moment she closed her eyes, the image of Ethereal lying in a pool of blood appeared in her mind. Chu Qingyan knew that it was useless to persuade her. In the end, she could only sit by her side and quietly accompany her. Little girl, why do you think people are so stupid? Why do you keep clinging to those insignificant grudges? Yin-luo's sudden words made Chu Qingyan fall into deep thought. Perhaps it's because your love is too deep. That's why you have to be calculative about everything. This was the only answer she could think of. Cheng Yin-luo laughed bitterly and self-deprecatingly. I should have listened to your advice and let go of everything. I shouldn't be calculative about what Ethereal did to me. If I used my heart to feel what he was thinking, there wouldn't be so many things happening now. His life wouldn't be in danger, and I wouldn't be filled with remorse. I brought all of this upon myself. Once one party was in danger, the other party would begin to blame themselves. No matter who was right or wrong, they would take responsibility for everything. However, in love, it was impossible to tell who was right and who was wrong. Yin-luo, don't say that. This isn't your fault. No one would have thought that there would be an explosion in the city, right? No one would have known that Ethereal left you to protect you, right? Chu Qingyan's heart ached for Yin-luo. I know he's in pain now. The military doctor is right. He's just waiting for death. I'm the selfish one who wants him to suffer like this. However, I can't watch him leave me, but I can't save him. I want to wait for him to wake up and tell him that he's the only one I'm willing to love. He's the only one for the rest of my life. Cheng Yin-luo's tears streamed down her face. Yin-luo. At this moment, she didn't know what to say. Little girl, I don't want to lose him. I can only keep him alive for a while. Once the effects of a life-prolonging pill wear off, being powerless was the scariest thing in life. Chu Qingyan's eyes reddened. She couldn't help but look away. Why did fate have to arrange for two people who loved each other to fall in love, but not be able to obtain each other? At this moment, the heartbroken Cheng Yin-luo suddenly thought of something. She turned around and grabbed the hand of the person beside her. Little girl, I know who can save him. I know. Chu Qingyan was pleasantly surprised. Oh, my father, Cheng Yin-luo said with certainty. Your father? Chu Qingyan's eyes lit up. You mean Divine Dr. Luo? Cheng Yin-luo nodded. Yes. His medical skills are better than mine. He'll definitely be able to save Moro. Do you know where he is? Chu Qingyan was also agitated. Cheng Yin-luo's face fell. I don't know. He's been wandering around for a few years and hasn't returned. Chu Qingyan was stunned. She immediately encouraged her. Don't worry. We'll activate our intelligence network and get people to help find him. As long as he's still in Sichuan, we'll be able to find him. All right, I'll bring him back to the medical hall first. There's a hot spring on the mountain behind the medical hall. We soak some medicinal herbs in it all year round. The spring water can stimulate a person's meridians and prolong his life. If you find my father, please ask him to return to the medical hall as soon as possible. Cheng Yin-luo was about to kneel down as she spoke. Chu Qingyan was shocked by her actions. She immediately reached out to support her. Yin-luo, what are you doing? I don't have any other choice. I can only beg for your help. Cheng Yin-luo's tears fell again as she spoke. Chu Qingyan hugged her and reprimanded her. What are you saying? We're friends. Ethereal is also my friend. Even if you didn't ask, we do our best to save him. Don't be so distant in the future. Otherwise, I'll ignore you. Chung Yinluo nodded with tears in her eyes. Chapter 983. Chu Qingyan quickly conveyed Chung Yinluo's message to Xiao Su. Without hesitation, Xiao Su ordered Water Spirit to stop all other important matters and send everyone to look for Divine Dr. Luo. Big Ice Cube, can you find Divine Dr. Luo? Chu Qingyan looked worried. She had made a solemn vow in front of Yin Luo, but at this moment, her heart couldn't help but beat like a drum. Xiao Su's expression was resolute. We will definitely find him. Chu Qingyan pursed her lips with a similarly resolute expression. Ethereal is blessed by the heavens. He will definitely turn the situation around. Miss Chung has left? Xiao Su's hand paused as he asked her. Chu Qingyan nodded. She brought Huo Ling to the carriage half an hour ago and is heading back to the medical hall. I have arranged for people to escort them. They have avoided the Southern Song Army's troops, so there shouldn't be any problems. All right, it's been hard on you. Xiao Su's cheek softened. Chu Qingyan rolled her eyes at him. Ethereal is your subordinate, but he is also my partner. Moreover, he will be responsible for Yin Luo's life in the future. How can I not be more attentive? Xiao Su shook his head with a smile. Seeing that he finally revealed his first smile after leaving the city, Chu Qingyan felt relieved. She was afraid that he would hide all his emotions in his heart and become ill. Big Ice Cube, don't move first. Let me help you roll up your sleeves. After they were done talking, Chu Qingyan walked towards him with a bottle of golden sore medicine in her hand. Xiao Su had yet to move, but the person in front of him had already reached out and carefully rolled up his sleeves. Instantly, the shocking burn was exposed before her eyes. She bit her lips and glared at him. It's already so serious. Why didn't you say anything? Xiao Su wanted to roll up his sleeves, but when he saw that she was about to cry, his heart clenched. He raised his hand to caress her face and gently said, It's all right. It's just a small injury. Don't make a fuss over it. Could this still be called a minor injury? His entire arm was red and blistered. If she hadn't noticed that his sleeve was torn, would he have endured it and let it go? She didn't want to bother with him, so she pushed his hand aside and left him hanging. Then, she took out a pair of scissors and cut open his torn sleeve. The wound had already festered, and some parts of the sleeve had already stuck to it. If she wasn't careful, she could easily tear off his skin and flesh. Her fingertips turned white, but she continued to cut without saying a word. Xiao Su didn't want her to see this and wanted to call the military doctor over. However, when he saw her red eyes, he could only shut his mouth and didn't dare to say anything. The little fellow usually had a good temper, but once she exploded, even he was afraid. Chu Qingyan, on the other hand, had a look of disdain on her face. After cutting off the sleeves on both sides, the injuries were clearly visible. Chu Qingyan's face darkened. She lit the candle, took the needle, and passed it over the fire. Then, she held his hand with one hand and used the other to help him pop the blood blisters. Only when the blood blisters burst and pus flowed out could she apply medicine. This way, he would recover faster. Every time she popped a blood blister, her hand couldn't help but tremble. It was a shocking and distressing sight. However, the person under her hand didn't seem to feel any pain at all. His expression was as calm as the wind and clouds. After picking out the blood blisters on both hands, she disinfected them and immediately applied medicine on him. She lowered her head and applied the medicine seriously, while he lowered his head and looked at her seriously. The person in front of him was like a painting. No matter how much he looked at her, he couldn't get enough of her. Plop! At this moment, he felt a drop of water fall on his arm. It was warm and warm. His eyes narrowed slightly as his gaze fell on the round drop of water. Another plop. Her tears first broke the string of beads and fell drop by drop. Xiao Su was stunned. He wanted to reach out and hug her, but his hands were full of medicine. He was afraid that it would stain her clothes. His eyes were full of helplessness. Ian, don't cry. I'm fine. It's all over. He could only comfort her. Chu Qingyin took back the medicine and turned around to throw herself on him. She couldn't suppress her emotions anymore. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have scolded you. If you didn't save me, you wouldn't have been injured. It's just that I feel terrible. When I saw you injured, when I saw Ethereal's uncertain life and death, and when I saw Yinluo so sad, I didn't know what to do. I felt so useless. Why we have to go to war? If there's no war, there won't be any parting. The people can live and work in peace. We can guard our little money house and shop in peace. I hate war. I hate death. The emotions that Chu Qingyin had been suppressing for so long finally exploded. Chu Qingyin lived in a peaceful era and rarely had contact with war. Even if she had transmigrated, she had never experienced such a tragic war in the past few years. She had also never experienced such a painful separation between life and death. The feeling of lingering on the edge of life and death, the despair when the explosion sounded, replayed in her heart over and over again. At this moment, when she saw the big ice cube covered in scars, it was as if a fuse had been lit. She couldn't suppress it anymore. Xiao could feel the pain and sorrow of the person in his arms. His heart ached. It's not your fault. I'm the one who dragged you into these disputes. In the future, we won't fight. We'll stay away from the battlefield. I'll guard those shops with you. We'll live our own lives and not get involved in these things. Chu Qingyin hugged him tightly. Her emotions gradually calmed down in his warm embrace. She said with reddened eyes, "Big Ice Cube, it's not your fault. It's not my fault either. The heavens are unfair, but we can't lose to fate. We have to win this war and bring peace to the country. We won't let the people live in misery." "All right, I promise you." Xiao's eyes burned with a flame. He was iron-blooded and ruthless. "Nansong, this king will never let you off." In the forest, Huling and Turin escorted Cheng Yinluo and Ethereal's carriage to a fork in the road. They stopped their horses and watched the carriage leave. Ethereal, I've been arguing with you for so many years. If you're not here, I'll be lonely. So, no matter what, you have to get better quickly." Huling muttered to himself. Why didn't you say those words in front of him? Turin glanced at him. Huling coughed lightly. His expression was unnatural as he said, "If he remembers those words when he wakes up, he'll definitely laugh at me. I won't let him catch on." Turin felt that these two people's argument was very boring. However, he still sincerely wished Ethereal a speedy recovery in return. He missed the days when he was by his master's side and everyone reunited. But after so many years, his companions left him one after another. At this moment, he was filled with sorrow and disappointment. "Turin, Master is angry this time. I think Nansong won't have a good time this time." Huling suddenly put away his expression and said in a deadpan manner. Turin's expression was stern. "Pang Huang has already stepped on Master's bottom line. Next, we'll see if he can withstand Master's anger. So, we have to go back as soon as possible." Huling nodded. The two of them took one last look at the direction the carriage left. Then, they turned their horses around and galloped back to the camp. "Ethereal, I hope you'll be safe and sound. Even if there's only a slim chance of survival, you have to hold on tight." Chapter 984. On top of the mountain, Pang Huang gazed at Qingqiao City from afar, only to see thick smoke billowing from the city. "Xiao, in the end, you still lost to this crown prince," he said proudly. As soon as he finished speaking, a bright and beautiful smile flashed across his eyes. He was stunned for a moment, then smiled in disappointment. What a pity. At this time, a row of soldiers came over. "Your Highness, what should we do next?" "Conserve our energy and continue to attack Sichuan City tomorrow. The Sichuan army is no longer a threat." Without their commander, the army was like a headless fly, unable to pose any threat. Yes, the soldiers accepted the order and left. Pang Huang looked down at the mountains and rivers with a card up his sleeve. Sichuan's mountains and rivers will soon be in southern Song's pocket. In the Sichuan camp, spread the news of this prince's death in Qingqiao City to numb the enemy. Xiao said in a deep voice. Then he continued, "Southern Song currently has an army of 200,000. Due to the lack of provisions, they will definitely attack the nearby cities first to plunder the provisions. Currently, 30,000 have already gone to Qingyang City, 50,000 to Qingyang City, 40,000 to Liushou City, and the rest are in the rear. Your Highness, let us beat them until they cry for their parents. Jing Guanghui's heart was filled with hatred for the Southern Song army as he gnashed his teeth. As soon as Jing Guanghui's words fell, the soldiers all responded. Xiao Su raised his hand, stopping the clamor of the crowd. He looked at the crowd with a sharp gaze. This time, we will fight them head-on. However, we must have a countermeasure. Everyone held their breaths as they listened. General Gao, this general is here. You will lead 30,000 soldiers through the flowing water slope to stop the Southern Song army. Do you have enough men? Yes. This general will definitely kill them all. Yes, General Jing. This general is here. This prince orders you to lead your men to 5 Mile Cliff within 2 days and block the Southern Song army's path to Qingyang City. Can you do it? This general will not fail. Fong Lu, Jin Xin. Present. Immediately lead the troops to Liushou City. Before they arrive, arrange the troops and set up the formation. Make sure they don't return. Yes. Hualing, Turin, within the tent, orders were issued one after another. Everyone's blood was boiling. It was as if the Southern Song army was right in front of them, and they couldn't help but want to go up and kill the enemy. This general obeys. After the soldiers saluted, they left in high spirits. Soon, the sound of horses neighing could be heard from outside, as well as the sound of horses galloping into the distance. At this time, Xiao Su was already dressed neatly. He held the sword in one hand and wiped it with the other. The long sword in his hand became brighter and brighter. With a light flick, it emitted a crisp sword hum. Chu Qingyan looked at him from the side and couldn't help but ask, "Why am I not on the list of generals?" Xiao Su sheathed his sword and sheathed it at his waist. He turned around and looked at her. Xian Mo's eyes were filled with understanding. "Where do you want to go?" Hearing his casual question, Chu Qingyan wasn't in a good mood. "The place has already been arranged. Where do you think I can go?" Xiao Su chuckled. "There's still one place that I haven't arranged." "Where?" Her eyes lit up. Xiao Su raised his eyebrows. "The Southern Song Army's reserve army, which is also their army as reinforcements. There are 80,000 soldiers." She couldn't wait to raise her hand. Xiao Su smiled mysteriously. "Okay, other than you, there's one more person." "Who?" Her injuries were almost healed. She was already very satisfied that Big Ice Cube was willing to let her go. Now that there were a few more people, she could accept it. "Me." Xiao Su pointed at himself. Chu Qingyan made an ah sound, then scratched her head. She didn't understand and asked, "Aren't you overseeing the rear?" "Pang Huang is there. You guys aren't his match." At the mention of Pang Huang, Xiao Su's expression turned cold. "So he's there. This time, I definitely won't let him go." Chu Qingyan clenched her fists and narrowed her eyes with hatred. "Go and prepare. We'll set off in 2 hours." Xiao Su patted her shoulder. Chu Qingyan nodded, then turned around and left. Xiao Su silently looked at the map on the table. The place where the red line was drawn was already occupied by the Southern Song army. He paused for a moment, then picked up a pen. Starting from Qinchao City, he drew circles one by one. This time, he would start from Jiansong County. He wouldn't let a single one of the Southern Song army go. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers left the main tent in different directions, quietly and quickly leaving. Looking down from the sky, they looked like a swarm of ants moving. Basically, they took advantage of the night to hurry. All the horses were wrapped in cloth to reduce the noise, so it wasn't easy for people to notice their movements. Chu Qingyan put on her red battle robe and followed beside Xiao Su. They set off together. She held the reins in her hand and looked at the boundless night. Behind her were thousands of soldiers and horses. Her heart was filled with lofty sentiments. This was her first time leading troops in a battle. She felt a sense of dread and novelty. She glanced sideways at Big Ice Block, who was cautiously observing the surroundings. Only someone like him, who had experienced so many battles, could be so calm and collected. Whether it was when they won the battle or when the explosion sounded, she had never seen Big Ice Block happy or angry. This was what it meant to be happy, not to be angry. As a general, he should have a good character. Beside her, Bai Yutong and a few others quietly followed her. From time to time, they would be vigilant of their surroundings to prevent any sneak attacks. Chu Qingyin curved her lips, then her expression became firm. This time, they could only succeed, not fail. After Pang Huang confirmed that Xiao Su had died in the explosion in Qingqiao City, he relaxed his vigilance. After 2 or 3 days of rest, he sent out an army to speed up the speed of encroaching on Sichuan cities. He wanted to completely annex Sichuan's territory within 3 months. At this time, Reiluo reported, "Your Highness, our people have already set off. We should be able to take down Qingyang City, and Liushou City soon." Pang Huang nodded with satisfaction. At this time, the Sichuan army is like a group of dragons without a leader. As long as we take advantage of their panic to attack and catch them off guard, even if they have more people than us, what is there to fear? This time, we must let them have a taste of our power and take revenge for last time. Reiluo said viciously. At this time, Pang Huang suddenly coughed violently. Reiluo immediately handed him tea and said with a worried expression, "Your Highness, your injury." Pang Huang drank a few mouthfuls, calmed down, and said coldly, "Xiao Su's palm destroyed half of this crown prince's power. It will take some time for me to recover. By the way, how is the imperial capital?" Reiluo immediately said, "This humble subject was just about to talk about this. The second prince has been dealt with cleanly and without leaving any traces behind. You can rest assured that no one will be able to compete with you for the throne in the future." "Very good. This time, Imperial Father should have no other thoughts." Pang Huang sneered, then coughed again. Chapter 985. However, something Pang Huang didn't expect happened. 3 days later, Southern Blue's main tent received thunderous reports one after another. The 30,000 troops, led by General Fu Yu, were intercepted 30 kilometers away from Flowing Water Slope. The other side has 30,000 men and is led by a man named Gao Hao. A soldier reported while kneeling in front of the table. "What's the situation?" Pang Huang was startled from his seat. "The other side is lying in ambush. The first wave of arrows caused us to lose over 1,000 vanguards." The soldier lowered his head. Pang Huang frowned. "How could this be? Your Highness Crown Prince, should we send reinforcements?" This matter was unexpected. Reiluo didn't think too much about it and stood up to suggest. "Okay, you." Pang Huang was interrupted before he could finish. Reporting, "Our troops have been ambushed by Sichuan's army 20 kilometers away from Qingyang City. The other side's manpower is on par with ours, but the other side has the geographical advantage. Our troops have suffered heavy losses." Another soldier hurriedly entered. Before Pang Huang and the other soldiers could react, another report came from outside the curtain. Reporting, "Your Highness Crown Prince, our troops have been ambushed by an unknown force at the foot of the mountain in front of Liushou City. The other side has set up a trap. We didn't notice it, and many soldiers have been injured by boulders rolling down from the top of the mountain. We request reinforcements." The 2 soldiers in charge of reporting from Qingyang City and Qingyang City also knelt down. "We also request reinforcements." Once these 3 reports came out, everyone was shocked. Pang Huang flew into a rage. "What the hell is going on? Why did so many Sichuan troops suddenly appear? Don't tell me you didn't even notice the movement of so many people?" The soldier on the side trembled with fear and trepidation. "Your Highness Crown Prince, the spies below didn't discover any news of the Sichuan army moving out. Ever since Xiao Su was killed in the explosion, Sichuan's camp hasn't made any movements. This general also doesn't know why our people were ambushed." "Ambushed? Hee, they're already confronting you head on. All's fair in war. How could they not have noticed at all? They're all a bunch of trash." Pang Huang was so angry that he almost flipped the table over. Even if the other party had led an army to launch a surprise attack, It was impossible for so many people to be heavily injured without any resistance. One of the strategists hesitated and said, "Your Highness, it's possible that the soldiers didn't have enough food. That's why they were so vulnerable." The men of the southern blue continent were all brave and skilled in battle. Even if the enemy had come prepared, it was impossible for them to be defeated so quickly. It was only because their rations and fodder had been stolen that they didn't have enough supplies afterwards. Naturally, their fighting strength had been greatly reduced. As soon as the strategist said this, the atmosphere in the tent immediately froze. Pang Huang's face stiffened. It would take at least 2 days for the provisions from the southern blue sea to arrive. However, he didn't expect the other party to act so quickly. Why did this swift and decisive way of doing things give him a sense of familiarity? He thought of someone, but he denied it in his heart. Wasn't Xiao Su already dead? Perhaps Sichuan's army was hiding talented generals. However, no matter who this general was, he would kill Buddha if he met Buddha, kill God if he met God. Find out who's currently in command of Sichuan's army. Pang Huang frowned and said coldly, "Only by knowing each other could one be victorious in 100 battles. Your Highness, what should we do now? All 3 sides need reinforcements, and we only have 80,000 men here?" Rei Luo asked. This was the thorny issue at hand. Pang Huang sat down and calmly pondered. Then he ordered, "Lu Xing, take 20,000 troops to Flowing Water Slope. Qing Fong, take 30,000 troops to Qingyang City. The remaining 30,000 troops will be led by this crown prince to Liushou City." As soon as he said this, the generals obeyed. After everyone left, only Rei Luo and Qing Cheng were left in the tent. Qing Cheng looked disapprovingly at Pang Huang behind the table and said with a solemn expression, "Your Highness, since the other side has divided into 3 groups to block our people, it means that they know our movements like the back of their hand. Now that the people in the rear have divided into 3 groups to support us, it can be said that our forces have been scattered. If we encounter an attack, we'll be easily defeated one by one." He didn't say these words in front of the soldiers because he was afraid of causing panic. He also did it for the sake of the crown prince's face, because the crown prince didn't like others questioning his decisions. However, the situation had already reached this juncture. He was afraid that if he didn't point it out, the consequences would be unimaginable. Qing Cheng's words didn't attract much attention from Pang Huang. He had listened to Qing Cheng's advice a few times before, which led to him being schemed against by Xiao Su. Therefore, in Pang Huang's heart, Qing Cheng had gradually lost his trust. Pang Huang waved his hand and said indifferently, "Now that they've received our support from the rear, their morale has been boosted. They're outnumbered and will soon be able to take down the 3 cities. Don't think too much about it. Without Xiao Su, they're not as powerful as we thought. They're just a bunch of mobs who are desperate." Qing Cheng still wanted to say something, but Pang Huang waved his hand and stopped him. "Go and prepare. We'll set off in half an hour." Qing Cheng had no choice but to turn around and leave with a depressed expression. Rei Luo glanced at Qing Cheng and then at the crown prince behind the table. He was at a loss. He felt that both sides were reasonable, but the order had already been given. At this time, Rei Luo walked out of the tent and felt that the sky had suddenly darkened. His chest felt stuffy, and his heart was beating very fast as if something was about to happen. He patted his head, stopped thinking about it, and left immediately. 30 miles away, Xiao Su received the news. As you expected, Pang Huang really sent reinforcements. Chu Qingyan sat on the back of a horse and said cheerfully to the person beside her. Sure enough, the big ice cube was able to predict things like a god. Pang Huang is a very proud person. As long as he's sure that I'm dead, he feels that no one in Sichuan can stop him. No one is his opponent. So he thinks that our march this time is just a last-ditch struggle. He won't think about whether there's a motive behind it. Even if he thinks about it, he won't believe that our people will do it. Xiao Su's eyes were indifferent as he explained to her unhurriedly why he would take these steps. Although it seemed that it was a bit risky for him to transfer all the troops out, he made this decision after figuring out Pang Huang's style of doing things. It could be said that this trap was set up against Pang Huang. Then it should be Jin Xian's turn to make a move. Chu Qingyan impatiently asked after hearing this. Xiao nodded and said to Huoling, "Inform Fong Lu and Jin Xian that the 2 southern blue reinforcements are heading in their direction. They must be intercepted and killed." Chu Qingyan quietly listened to the big ice cube's command and sincerely admired him. He had Fong Lu and Jin Xian each lead a group of troops to lie in ambush on the road between Fuyang City and Qingyang City. He was waiting for Pang Huang to send his troops. Everything was exactly as the big ice cube expected. This time, they were going to eat the southern blue army bit by bit. Chapter 986. Over the past 2 days, the sky had darkened at will. Dark clouds covered the city, and strong winds blew. It felt like a storm was about to come. Pang Huang led people in the direction of Lu Shouqing. However, after walking for 2 days, Pang Huang faintly felt that something was wrong. "Your Highness, what are you thinking about?" Reiluo brought food and saw his crown prince frowning. He couldn't help but ask. Pang Huang looked at the dark clouds in the sky and frowned. "I feel like I've forgotten something, but I can't remember." This feeling made him very uncomfortable. How could they, as subordinates, guess the crown prince's thoughts? Reiluo didn't dare to say anything, especially these days. His Highness had been injured, and his temperament was a bit unstable. It was better not to provoke him. Just as Reiluo put down the plate, he saw the crown prince suddenly stand up from the corner of his eye. He quickly got up. "Your Highness, what's wrong?" "Reiluo, didn't I send people to reinforce Fuyang City and Qingyang City? Why haven't I received their letters in the past 2 days?" Pang Huang's expression was ugly. After this reminder, Reiluo remembered that they didn't seem to have any news about the 2 teams of reinforcements. His face paled slightly, but he didn't dare to think of the worst. "Your Highness, could it be that the letters weren't delivered so quickly because we were in a hurry? Maybe we'll receive them later." These words comforted Pang Huang a little, but Pang Huang began to feel uneasy. These carrier pigeons were personally trained by him. It was impossible that they couldn't find anyone, unless they encountered an accident or their people didn't send any news at all. The more he thought about it, the more likely Pang Huang felt the latter was. He immediately called people over, intending to have them search for information. However, after a while, he couldn't sit still. "Reiluo, did you find out who led the Sichuan army this time?" Reiluo looked troubled. "The spies went to investigate, but they haven't returned yet." At this moment, a soldier ran over, crawling and rolling. Your Highness, it's bad, it's bad." This hurried shout made Pang Huang's heart feel even worse. When Reiluo saw his crown prince's expression become ugly, he stepped forward and kicked the soldier's chest. "What's bad? Speak properly. Otherwise, you'll be punished according to military law." The soldier rolled a few times on the ground. Ignoring the pain, he crawled in front of the 2. Pang Huang looked on coldly. "If you have something to say, say it." The soldier who came to report trembled as he said, "Reporting to your Highness, there's an army coming towards us from 10 miles away." Pang Huang's expression changed. "Who's leading them? How many are there?" "There are 50,000 of them, but we don't know who's leading them." The soldier who came to report lowered his head even more, afraid that the crown prince would get angry. If Pang Huang still couldn't guess the enemy's plan, then all his years of fighting would have been in vain. The enemy had scattered his forces time and time again. Now that he only had 30,000 soldiers left, they had surrounded him. The rest of the southern Blue Continent's army was either on the battlefield or on the way to the battlefield. At this time, no one could make it in time. Therefore, they had cut off all of his escape routes. This was a brilliant move. She had read his mind. What was even more frightening was that he still didn't know who his opponent was. To be able to control all of this in the dark and do it so smoothly, he still couldn't guess who in the Sichuan would have this ability. "Your Highness, the enemy is already in front of us. What should we do?" Reiro felt that his premonition was very accurate. Now that the problem had come, he looked a little flustered. The enemy was outnumbered, and he knew the outcome without fighting. Pang Huang was now in a big headache. He coughed a few times, calmed his breathing, and slowly said, "We can't fight them head-on. We'll go around them and go to Liushou City first to join the army. At least in terms of numbers, we can't be at a disadvantage." This decision was very difficult. This was the first time he chose to retreat when the enemy was clamoring. This wasn't his style. But now that things had come to this point, he couldn't let his emotions affect his decisions and send the entire army to their deaths. Reiro felt that this was the only thing he could do at this time, so he immediately gave the order. The news that the Nansong army had gone around another mountain and wasn't willing to confront them head-on quickly reached Xiao Su. Xiao Su sneered and immediately gave the order. "Turin, take 20,000 men and ride lightly to the back of the mountain to block him." Turin received the order and immediately went to count the troops. Xiao Su continued to give orders. "Turin is leading troops to block the front, so Pang Huang definitely won't continue forward. There's a river here, and the Nansong army isn't good at swimming. They won't choose to cross the river, so it's very likely that they'll go east or south. The east side can still make a detour to Liushou City. So Hualing, take the men to the east and the rest to the south." Xiao Su hesitated for a moment. Then he heard the little girl recommend herself. "I'll take the south side. I'll be responsible for blocking his retreat." Xiao Su glared at her. "This isn't a small matter. You stay by my side." "Your Highness, Chu Yin knows that this isn't a small matter. Your Highness, please believe in Chu Yin this time." Chu Qingyan stood in front of him and bowed solemnly. At this time, several soldiers stood up from the side. "Your Highness, little brother Chu's martial arts are excellent, and his ability to lead troops isn't below ours. Your Highness can let him go forward." Yes, little brother Chu can take on this heavy responsibility." Wave after wave of words rang out, making it impossible for Xiao Su to ignore everyone's recommendations. He looked at the person in front of him with deep eyes, wanting her to take the initiative to step down, but she stubbornly held her head high and wasn't willing to compromise. In the end, Xiao Su had no choice but to hand over 30,000 soldiers to her. Before leaving, he grabbed her wrist when no one was paying attention. There were many words in his throat that he wanted to say, but in the end, only one sentence was left: "Be careful." Chu Qingyan nodded heavily. The soldiers around him all had missions, and no one could leave, so she took the initiative to volunteer to share some of the burden on his shoulders. Moreover, she had confidence in herself. His warmth on her wrist made her heart itch. When he was about to let go of her hand after he finished speaking, she grabbed his hand with the back of her hand. Xiao Su didn't know what she wanted to do. He looked around and said in a low voice, "There are people here. Don't let them see you. Take note of your current status." Chu Qingyan blinked at him with a mischievous look. "Last time, I gave you encouragement of love. This time I want it too." As she spoke, she tapped her cheek lightly with an expectant look. Asking for a kiss in public, only his family's Ian would do it. Although in private, he didn't reject this kind of thing and had always pressed her down and kissed her on a whim. But this was after all in front of his subordinates, so he was a little embarrassed. To be more precise, he was embarrassed. Chapter 987. This was the first time she had seen the big ice block so unnatural. Chu Qingyan was even more unwilling to let it go. Her fingers tightly gripped his wrist as she slowly moved closer. She quietly said with a laugh, "Hurry up, otherwise we'll be discovered." The corner of Xiao Su's eyes twitched. "If you don't want it, then no one will discover it." Not far away, Hualing was feeding the horses. When he saw this scene, he thought, the little princess consort is teasing master again. How could he let others see such a good show? So he used other orders as an excuse to chase the soldiers who were in the way away. Only he comfortably held the straw in his mouth as he hid on the side and peeped. However, he seemed to feel several unkind gazes looking at his back. He swallowed and slowly turned around. Several people were coldly looking at him. Bai Yutong, snowflake cake, glutinous rice ball, and a huge Shanghai. "Little ancestors, you're looking at me. I'm scared." Hualing's voice was trembling. Being caught, doing something bad, This feeling was too uncomfortable. Bai Yutong and the others did not leave when they heard this. Instead, they slowly moved closer to him. Huoling saw that the situation was bad and didn't care about the little princess consort teasing master anymore. He pulled his horse and ran away. Seeing the people in the way leave, Bai Yutong and the others immediately jumped to where Huoling had been hiding. They smiled as they looked at the two people in front of them. They finally found the best spot to watch. Completely unaware that her actions were seen by her pets, Chu Qingyin was still unwilling to let it go. It was like, if you don't give me a reward, I'll stay here with you. Xiao had a big headache from her. He knew he couldn't do it now, but he couldn't bear to reject her. Moreover, during this time, he couldn't get close to her. His heart also longed for the intimacy between the two of them. His wrist was gently shaken, and their skin touched. It was soft and warm. The person in front of him was petite and cute, and her eyes were soft. Xiao's heart skipped a beat, and he leaned down and kissed her lightly on her face. Because the two of them were wearing helmets and the brims of their hats were hidden, no one knew what the two of them were doing. Her face was cool and itchy. Chu Qingyin finally got what she wanted. Xiao immediately pulled away. He thought that if he gave it to her, she would stop. But at this time, she suddenly reached out to hold his head. She stood on her tiptoes and heavily bit his lips. Then she quickly let go and took 2 steps back. Xiao's eyes widened. Before he could catch her, she had already slipped away. She licked the corner of her mouth and smiled at him. It tastes good. This young master is leaving. After saying this, Chu Qingyin turned Chu Qingchu. Chu Qingchu. Qingchu. Chu Qingchu. 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 She mounted her horse, and her expression changed. In an instant, she regained her cold and aloof appearance. She urged her horse and rushed in the direction where the army had left. Qingchu, 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 Qingchu. Go master is indeed domineering. After Bai Yutong and the others finished admiring this scene, they also followed their master in satisfaction. Xiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry, seeing her run away. His finger touched the place where he was bitten, and his eyes deepened. Little fellow, when I come back, I will definitely take care of you. Chu Qingyin felt a chill run down her spine. She comforted herself that it was probably because the wind was too strong. Huoling only dared to come back after Chu Qingyin left with the army. He walked behind his master, who was watching his wife leave, and asked, "Master, should we also set out?" Xiao looked away and returned to his usual cold appearance. "We'll set out in 15 minutes. Yes. Huoling lowered his head, not daring to look at his master's current appearance. He had run away just now, but he was hiding far away. He still saw the little princess consort teasing his master. Although he didn't see it clearly, it was still a rare sight to see his master compromise. It really was a feast for the eyes. If he told this to Turin and Muling, they would definitely be jealous to death. "Huoling, why are you shaking your shoulders?" Huoling immediately froze. Cough, cough. He was too pleased with himself. This subordinate had a bad pillow last night. "My neck is a bit uncomfortable," he replied with a laugh. "Is that so? Do you need this king to help you?" The voice faintly carried a threat. Huoling immediately jumped 3 steps away and waved his hand. "No need, no need. This subordinate is already fine." After saying this, Huoling ran away like a wisp of smoke. This was called reaping what one sowed. There was no living. Pang Huang led the army to another path. Although it was a mountain road and wasn't easy to walk on, at least it was hidden and they didn't have to worry about the enemy chasing after them. However, the soldier who was sent to scout ahead hurriedly came back on his horse. "Your Highness, there's an ambush ahead." Pang Huang immediately reined in his horse and shouted with a gloomy expression, "Tell me in detail." The soldier didn't have time to catch his breath and immediately said, "We were scouting ahead and found that halfway up the mountain, there was a large group of people gathering and heading in our direction." "How many people did the other side bring?" Reiluo immediately asked from his side. This subordinate didn't see clearly, but there were at least 10,000 soldiers. The soldier thought carefully and replied. Reiluo was surprised. He turned his head to look at the crown prince, who had a very ugly expression, and asked, "Your Highness, we have 30,000 people, which is more than the other side. Should we choose to face the enemy head-on?" Pang Huang immediately rejected this suggestion and said in a deep voice, "If we face the enemy head-on, even if we win, we'll be exhausted. This will make it easy for the pursuers behind us. Look, what other paths do we have to avoid now?" There was an ambush in front of them and pursuers behind them. It was very unfavorable for them. They couldn't meet force with force and had to conserve their strength. Rei Luo felt that the crown prince's words made sense and immediately opened the map he carried with him. He roughly scanned the map and pointed it to the crown prince. "Your Highness, there's a river north of the mountain. The current is turbulent, but we don't have a boat. Our brothers aren't good at swimming, so we can only choose the east and south. Sichuan's pursuers are in the south. Let's go south." Pang Huang reached out and pointed at the map, making a prompt decision. Rei Luo nodded. After putting away the map, he gave the order to change direction. Pang Huang watched from afar as the army was forced to change their path again. He felt very sullen. He had never been so passive before. He tightly gripped the reins in his hand, and the anger in his chest was difficult to express. When Xiao Su received the news that Pang Huang was leading the army to the south, it was already an hour later. "Master," Pang Huang really didn't choose to face the enemy head-on. As if he could imagine Pang Huang fleeing, Hualing laughed very happily. The little guy was in the south. Xiao Su frowned and then said to Hualing, "Send someone to tell Turin to keep a certain distance from the southern Song army. Don't let them discover our whereabouts." Hualing accepted the order, yes. Pang Huang looked to the south. If everything went well, they could surround Pang Huang. Chapter 988. Pang Huang led the army all the way to the south. It seemed that they couldn't feel the pursuers behind them. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. "Your Highness, in another 2 hours, we can leave the mountain." Rei Luo pointed ahead and smiled. Pang Huang looked in the direction of his finger. Sure enough, the field of vision was much wider. It was no longer craggy rocks and lush woods. His brows relaxed a lot. Let the army walk out of the forest in one go. Pang Huang's tone was much lighter. It could be felt that his mood had improved. Rei Luo exhaled heavily. In the past few days, they had wandered around this closed mountain and couldn't receive any news from the outside. His Highness the Crown Prince was in an extremely bad mood. His entire body was filled with a violent aura. As a close official, he was affected all day long. Now, there was finally a good sign. Perhaps influenced by the upper echelons, the army didn't rush as heavily as before. Their footsteps were much lighter. They thought that they could leave the mountain in a moment. This was a village where there was light at the end of the tunnel. However, when everyone rushed to the mountain pass excitedly, what awaited them was not a village at the end of the tunnel, but a black mass of soldiers. The person in the lead was dressed in red and had a bright smile. Under the sun, it was very dazzling. Compared to their miserable appearance, the other party was bright and beautiful. It was like the difference between a noble and a downtrodden commoner. Pang Huang looked at the leading red-clothed person in surprise. Chuyen? Didn't she die in Qingchao City? Pang Huang, long time no see. Chu Qingyan sat on the back of a horse and looked at the people below. She waved her hand and returned his words to him. "I didn't expect you to still be alive." Pang Huang looked at her. His gaze was slightly cold, but there was a joy in his tone that he didn't notice. "Maybe the King of Hell didn't want to accept me, so he let me out again." Chu Qingyan raised her voice and said with a smile. There was no feeling of arrogance when two armies faced an enemy. Pang Huang showed a touch of ridicule. "You didn't die, so Xiao Su didn't die either. So this time, the person controlling from behind is him." Chu Qingyan nodded and said, "You are very smart, but evil will never prevail over good. That's why the heavens will not allow you to be so carefree. Pang Huang, do you choose to surrender or resist?" When he said the last sentence, his gentle voice seemed to carry with it a piercing cold wind, causing the hearts of the people from the southern blue continent to tremble. They couldn't help but look at the crown prince. If they still couldn't figure out Nan Sang's plan at this point in time, then all these years of fighting would have been in vain. Now that the other party knew their movements like the back of their hand, there was no longer any meaning in continuing to deal with them. Moreover, it would only shrink the scope of the other party's encirclement, so why not take the opportunity to kill their way out? Chuyin, we've fought for so long, and we haven't had a good fight yet. Now, let this crown prince witness your ability. As soon as Pang Huang's words fell, the Southern Song army took out their weapons and charged towards them ferociously. Chu Qingyin chuckled. With a wave of her hand, the first arrow formation was launched. Because they had the advantage of higher ground, the first wave of arrows killed many of the other party's troops. However, with the enemy's fearless approach, the arrow formation was no longer of much use. Chu Qingyin called back the arrow formation and released the cavalry and infantry. The numbers were equal, but the Sichuan army had the advantage of higher ground and were full of energy. The Southern Song army was at a disadvantage. At this stage, they had been constantly rushing, so they were mentally exhausted. Facing this sudden battle, they didn't have the strength. Soon, the Southern Song army couldn't hold on any longer. Seeing this, Pang Huang immediately ordered his men to retreat. Chu Qingyin saw that they were retreating and also retreated. The other three sides' troops would arrive soon. She didn't want to waste her troops here with the Southern Song army. Once the encirclement was complete, it would be difficult for them to escape. The Southern Song army retreated into the valley and found a place to hide. However, this time setback caused the entire army to fall into a very low state. Pang Huang wanted to boost the morale, but he didn't have the strength. Running around day and night made Pang Huang's body unable to bear it. That night, his injuries worsened. All the military doctors gathered around Pang Huang. They applied medicine, took his pulse, and fed him medicine. They were busy in full swing. Everyone was suppressing the panic in their hearts. His Highness the Crown Prince was their backbone. If something happened to him, how could they resist Xian's army of tigers and wolves? Ray Luo and the other soldiers were pacing back and forth, waiting with difficulty. At this time, His Highness the Crown Prince is awake. Everyone gathered around. Pang Huang felt as if he was in the depths of a dark sea. It was very suffocating. It was as if he couldn't see the road ahead until a bit of light appeared in front of him. He slowly opened his eyes. After adjusting to the brightness, his eyes finally found focus. He could hear the cheers of his subordinates. He frowned and then said, "Let's go, Brother Jean." He frowned and frowned. "How long has this prince been asleep?" "You've been asleep for 3 hours." The military doctor replied. "He actually slept for so long?" Pang Huang struggled to sit up, but unfortunately, he couldn't exert any strength. At this time, the military doctor hurriedly helped him up. "What's the situation now?" Pang Huang was still thinking about the current situation. Ray Luo revealed a worried expression. Chuyin brought people to block the south. The ambush we encountered before also seems to be searching for our whereabouts in the mountains. Fortunately, this valley is relatively hidden, giving us a temporary place to stay. Although his mind was still a bit muddled, Pang Huang was much more clear-headed than before. Ray Luo and the others only saw the surface. Only he knew what Xiao Su and the others were planning. Xiao Su had sent troops to intercept in all directions. He hadn't made a move yet because he was waiting for the encirclement. As long as they were surrounded by the Sichuan army, they could only fight like trapped beasts. They wouldn't be able to escape. What awaited them was only a merciless disaster. No, he couldn't let Xiao Su succeed. He had to take advantage of the encirclement and leave with the army before it was complete. Otherwise, the entire Southern Blue Army would be buried in Sichuan. As soon as Pang Huang moved, the blood in his chest churned. Soon he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Your Highness the Crown Prince." "Your Highness." The people in the tent were astonished. The military doctor on the side immediately stepped forward. He wiped his wounds, checked his pulse, and took his medicine. After Pang Huang calmed down, he turned to look at the older military doctor. "Do you have medicine that can quickly restore a person's mental strength?" The military doctor hesitated. Under the crown prince's slightly cold gaze, he could only report truthfully. We do, but it can only last for a few days. Furthermore, it's extremely harmful to the body. Okay, take it out. Pang Huang immediately ordered. But Your Highness, this is too risky. The military doctor shook his head and advised. No buts. This prince's words are orders. Pang Huang raised his eyebrows and stared at the military doctor. At this time, if he didn't recover, only death awaited the army. Chapter 989. The military doctor had no choice but to bring the medicine over. Pang Huang ignored his subordinate's objections and swallowed the medicine without hesitation. This was a tiger's medicine, and it quickly took effect. Pang Huang's previous haggard and weak expression was replaced by a sharp gaze. Reluo, send someone to investigate and find out the enemy's current movements. After dark, we'll prepare to set off. Although he couldn't bear to see His Highness take the medicine, he had no other choice. Reluo gritted his teeth and agreed. Thousands of miles away in the Sichuan capital, reports of victory were sent to the palace. His Royal Highness has recovered Jiangning County and Qingqiao City. Jiasong County has been recovered. The Southern Song Army has suffered heavy losses. Now, the Prince of Nansong has been trapped in the forest by His Royal Highness. Because of these reports, the haze from before was swept away, and everyone was beaming with joy. As expected of the god of war, King of England. As soon as he set out, the Southern Song barbarians have a taste of our Sichuan's power. His Royal Highness's martial arts are unparalleled, and his strategy is outstanding. He's truly worthy of being called our savior. Xiao Su was praised from top to bottom by the imperial court. Although the city was recovered and the Southern Song army suffered heavy losses, the Sichuan emperor was happy. When he heard the ministers praising Xiao Su without holding back, he felt a little upset. After the morning court, the Sichuan emperor returned to the imperial study. He flipped through the memorial in his hand, but not a single word entered his eyes. He simply folded the memorial and prepared to take a walk in the imperial garden. At this time, a voice came from outside. Consort Yu requests an audience. Because Xiao Su was fighting at the front lines, the Sichuan emperor often went to the palace of Chaoyang, so he didn't go to the Moon Palace as often. Now that he heard that Consort Yu had come, he remembered how he had neglected her during this period of time and invited her in. Consort Yu walked in with a tray in her hands. On the tray was a small porcelain cup with a white and blue pattern. She was dressed in a rose-colored gauze with a white shawl draped over her shoulders. Her hair was tied into a bun like the clouds, making her look graceful and graceful. She had a light plum blossom makeup on her face. Although it was simple and elegant, it couldn't hide her deep facial features. She was charming and enchanting, and the corner of her mouth faintly carried a seductive smile. She was like a seductive fox. Every frown and smile of hers was enough to steal one's soul. As soon as Consort Yu appeared, she attracted Sichuan Emperor's attention. Although imperial concubine Moon already had a 10-year-old son, her elegance hadn't diminished from the past. Or it could be said that she was a bit less immature than a young girl and had a bit more mature charm. This sort of beauty was in line with a man's sense of beauty. This was the difference between her and Empress Liang. Consort Yu knew the advantages of her appearance. She played to her strengths and avoided her weaknesses, showing off her beauty to the fullest. However, Empress Liang was different. In order to show off the majesty and status of the throne, she always dressed herself in a dignified manner. This gave off a lifeless feeling. Therefore, after spending a few days in the palace of Chaoyang and Empress Liang, the Sichuan emperor was a little bored. Now that he saw the fresh, refined, and charming Consort Yu, it was as if he was tired of eating delicacies and was suddenly given a bowl of iced plum soup. It added a bit of freshness to his summer days. Your Majesty, this is lotus seed lily soup that this concubine personally brewed. The weather has become much hotter, so you must take care to avoid the heat. Otherwise, the heat will only get worse by the day. Consort Yu's understanding was perfect. The The Sichuan emperor enjoyed it very much. He took the soup she personally served and drank a mouthful. He praised, "Yours cooking is getting better and better." Consort Yu smiled bashfully. "If your majesty likes it, it will make more of your majesty's favorite food in the future." Hearing this, the Sichuan emperor put down the bowl and reached out to hold her hand. He sighed, "We married you into the palace to dote on you. You're not here to do these things. As long as you keep us company, that's enough." Consort Yu heard this and was very pleased. Empress Liang would probably never hear His Majesty say such things in her entire life. Consort Yu smiled. "You is willing to do anything for your majesty as long as your majesty doesn't dislike you." "How can we dislike you? We also love our son." The Sichuan emperor patted the back of her hand and smiled. "We will remember your majesty's kindness to this concubine and ranner." Consort Yu leaned on the Sichuan emperor's shoulder. She rolled her eyes and then smiled respectfully. "I heard that the King of England defeated the Southern Song army. This concubine congratulates your majesty on recovering the lost land and showing the might of the Sichuan Empire. In the future, this concubine will have Ranner follow this imperial brother's example and learn from him." When Xiao Su was mentioned, the Sichuan emperor's expression became much calmer. He said indifferently, "Ranner doesn't need to learn how to fight and kill. He can focus on learning how to govern the country. When he reaches a certain level, there will be civil and military officials who will work for him. In governing a country, the most important thing is to choose capable people. If he does everything himself, wouldn't that be neglecting the essentials?" The Sichuan emperor's words were undoubtedly a message to Consort Yu. She didn't need to care about Xiao Su. She could focus on teaching Xiao Ran. When Consort Yu received this confirmation, she felt much more at ease. Previously, when she heard the reports from the front lines, she thought that Xiao Ran's position in His Majesty's heart would be shaken because of Xiao Su's outstanding performance. But now, it seemed that there was no change. His Majesty still didn't like Xiao Su. Thus, she could be at ease. After Consort Yu withdrew, the Sichuan emperor sat alone in the imperial study. His face was gloomy as he thought about many things. Not long after, a letter from the Southern Song Empire was delivered to the imperial study. Night fell. Pang Huang ordered the soldiers to abandon their horses and drive them in the opposite direction. This was to create a smokescreen so that people would mistakenly think that they were going in the opposite direction. This way, they could delay a bit of time. At this time, thunder rumbled and the sky seemed to have been split open. The white light was frightening. After a dozen or so thunders, a torrential rain poured down. Although the environment was harsh, it made it more convenient for the Southern Song army to hide. After they figured out the direction of Chu Qingyin's army, they avoided the path of direct confrontation with them. In the rainy night, they carefully advanced. No one lit a torch, and they smoothly walked for a few hours. When they reached a large flat area and were about to rest, suddenly, torches were lit in front of them one after another. It was like a ghost fire suddenly appeared in the forest. Everyone was startled, but soon, uniform footsteps broke through the air, accompanied by the sound of thunder. The firelight illuminated the faces of the people behind them, as well as their battle robes. This unforeseen event caused the Southern Song army to reveal their weapons. Pang Huang was stunned at first. Then, he squinted his eyes and looked at the person who came out from the darkness. The firelight spread from the boots to the silver mask. The light shone into the pair of cold and clear eyes, as if there was a hint of mockery. Pang Huang gnashed his teeth and called out his name word by word. "It's you, Xiao Su." In just a few days, the situation had turned upside down. He was the one who set the trap, but now he was the chess piece on the board. Chapter 990. Pang Huang's angry shout didn't make Xiao Su move his eyebrows. He looked at Pang Huang indifferently, like a god looking down on all living things. He didn't hit Pang Huang when he was down, nor was he arrogant. His expression was calm as he said, "Prince of Nansong, your men have all been subdued by us. If you are willing to surrender, we will not harm you." Although his voice wasn't loud, It was enough to penetrate the crowd. Xiao Su's words caused a great panic in the southern Song army. Their men had all been subdued. Didn't that mean that they were the only ones left out of the hundreds of thousands of Sichuan soldiers? Their fighting spirit was instantly obliterated. Pang Huang's face instantly darkened. This Xiao Su made his men lose their fighting spirit as soon as he appeared. Once his men believed these words, they would be defeated without a fight. He immediately shouted, "Everyone, don't listen to their lies. They're all lies. Brothers, let's not talk nonsense with them. Let's kill our way out. Let's join our army." Pang Huang's impassioned words restored everyone's mood. They held their weapons and followed Pang Huang as he charged towards the Sichuan army. "Kill!" Xiao Su made a gesture, and the army behind him also charged towards the southern Song army. Thus, the two sides clashed together. The sounds of fighting and shouting rose and fell one after another. The quiet mountain forest suddenly became noisy as swords clashed. The rain became heavier. Pang Huang looked at Xiao Su through the curtain of rain, and the corner of his mouth twitched. "King of England, last time, we didn't fight to our heart's content. This time, let's continue to see who is better." As soon as he finished speaking, he was like a dragon emerging from the water. He leapt up and flashed his big sword at Xiao Su. Xiao Su drew his long sword to face the enemy. After the first move, Xiao Su slightly frowned. He remembered that he had seriously injured Pang Huang last time. Why was his internal energy still so abundant? Pang Huang's attacks were close to crazy. Perhaps it was because he was forced into a desperate situation, but his every move was very fierce. Xiao Su immediately calmed down and faced the attack. After a few rounds, there was still no clear victor. The two of them separated and stood in the rain, panting. The rain was extremely heavy, soaking the battle clothes, making them even heavier. Pang Huang wiped the rainwater off his face and looked coldly at Xiao Su, who didn't seem to be in a sorry state, even though he was standing in the rain. "Xiao Su, you're so smart. Why did you hide in Lian City all these years?" Although he hadn't seen him face to face much from the exchange of blows, he was indeed a talent in managing an army. Moreover, from his sharp ability to control the situation and devise strategies, he was able to judge the situation and size up the situation. He was neither arrogant nor rash, possessing the ability and bearing that a ruler should have. However, compared to his own style, he could not understand why Xiao Su had chosen to silently contribute to Sichuan behind the scenes. In his opinion, power and wealth should be firmly controlled in his own hands. Xiao Su looked at him indifferently and didn't answer. Pang Huang didn't bicker and continued. "As the eldest son of the first wife, you are talented and resourceful. You should rightfully inherit the position of Crown Prince. Why is it that after 20 years, the position of Crown Prince of Sichuan still hasn't been decided? I heard that in the previous dynasties, the princes were all determined when they were young. Why is it different in your dynasty? This is really strange." Xiao Su didn't like his curiosity, but he smiled faintly at this moment. "Your Highness, each country is different. My father is in good health, so it's normal that he doesn't need to appoint a crown prince in advance." Human nature? Pang Huang snorted disdainfully at these words. "This crown prince thinks that your emperor doesn't want to appoint you as crown prince. However, he still needs you now, so he hasn't chosen the heir in his heart. Am I right?" Before this, he had done some research on the Sichuan dynasty. Although the information didn't mention it clearly, it was no secret that Sichuan emperor doted on the fourth prince. However, he was very curious as to how Xiao Su was able to endure such humiliation and risk his life for the West Xian emperor without complaint. No one had mentioned this matter in front of Xiao Su before. Pang Huang's words had exposed a cruel truth. If it was anyone else, they would have flown into a rage out of humiliation. But this person was Xiao Su. He didn't care about these things at all. He just felt that Pang Huang's confident tone was a bit annoying. Seeing Xiao Su look at him with a frown, Pang Huang thought that he had seen through his thoughts. His eyes turned, and he lowered his voice as he spoke. "Xiao Su, that position belongs to you. If you want it, this crown prince can help you." Xiao Su raised his brows. How does your highness plan on helping this king? If you and I work together, what is there to be afraid of? Isn't the southern Sichuan dynasty already in our bag? Pang Huang said with a chuckle. He was very confident. So you also told the person who leaked the information to you this way? Xiao Su's eyes were cold. Pang Huang heard this, and his voice was filled with a sigh. Speaking of this person, this crown prince is very ashamed. I still don't know who he is or what his goal is, but his eyes lit up as he looked at Xiao Su. This crown prince guesses that this person will be a strong opponent for you in the future. He is much stronger than your fourth brother. Xiao Su knitted his brows. He was trying to determine if Pang Huang's words were true or false. Pang Huang noticed his gaze and couldn't help raising his brows. Since this crown prince wants to cooperate with you, there is no deception. There is nothing to hide. Xiao Su lowered his brows when he heard this. He secretly thought that if this person could hide Pang Huang's intentions, then this person would be a great hidden danger for the Sichuan dynasty. Pang Huang saw that Xiao Su didn't say anything and his heart sank. How about this cooperation? Xiao Su calmly looked at Pang Huang. Your Highness, you are not me. How do you know what I want? Pang Huang was stunned when he heard this. Could it be that this person didn't want that position at all? Impossible. How could there be someone who didn't want to hold power and enjoy the glory of being worshipped by tens of thousands of people? Well, he wanted to confirm it again. Xiao Su's sword had already pierced through the water. Pang Huang quickly pulled out his saber to block. When the saber and sword collided, he narrowed his eyes and asked, "Are you willing to live like this for the rest of your life? What a waste of talent." This king will say the same thing. I'm not you. I don't have such strong ambitions. After saying this, Xiao Su swung his sword at him. After exchanging a few more moves, Pang Huang unwillingly said, "Even if you don't want to fight, do you think those people will let you go? Will the emperor allow you to do as you please?" These words caused Xiao Su to abruptly narrow his eyes. Through the rain, Pang Huang could see the change in his expression. He thought that he had seen through his thoughts and wanted to continue speaking. However, Xiao Su did not give him a chance to speak. His sword attacks became stronger and stronger. Pang Huang could no longer be distracted and could only close his mouth. In the rain, a black and silver figure moved as fast as lightning. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see their moves. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.